starting as a worker from Naruto. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 26 Danzo, don't call him Gia. Lord Danzo. Uchiha Itachi's eyes fixed. Uchiha Itachi had heard this name before. Once when he was accompanying Uchiha Shisa to participate in an examination, he met a seriously injured ninja. From the seriously injured ninja, he learned that Danzo had done something harmful to Konoha, and was even besieged by Danzo's subordinates because of this. In the end, the seriously injured ninja was killed. In order to avoid disputes in Konoha, everything was left unresolved. Uchiha Itachi later learned the identity of Shimura Danzo. He knew that Shimura Danzo served as the assistant of the Hokage, which was a high position of power. Is this boy actually a subordinate of Shimura Danzo? Why are all the subordinates of Shimura Danzo a group of bad guys? This boy obviously looks about the same age as himself, and he even deceived this group of Shinin who took the exam. Why do you look so grim? Akihara Kagura looked at Uchiha Itachi's face and suddenly chuckled. It seems that you also know about Danzo-sama, and seem to be a little dissatisfied with Danzo-sama. No, Uchiha Itachi shook his head quickly, and his face slowly eased. I just don't quite understand why you want to deceive them. Huh? Why? Akihara Kagura tilted his head, as if thinking about this strange question. I just want to reduce the number of competitors taking the exam. It's not strange to use a little trick, right? Don't ninjas use any means to achieve their goals? Uchiha Itachi was speechless. The genius of the Uchiha clan only thought for a second, and suddenly said, but the village will not let this happen. It is impossible for there to be only 2 of us candidates in this Chunin exam. The exam time should be postponed for a while. Akihara Kagura looked at the empty room, and her mood seemed to become a little leisurely. Maybe, but there are not many people here. I can relax a little. Hokage building. There are screens in the Hokage's office. These display screens were broadcasting everything that happened in the waiting area for the written test of the Chunin exam. A group of Konoha high-ranking officials were stunned to see Akihara Kagura's amazing operation. What a smart kid. The third Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen was the first to laugh, and even commented with interest, this kind of thing actually happened in the Chunin exam. Alice, this won't do. What's wrong with this kid? In this case, there will only be 2 candidates for the entire Chunin exam. This will embarrass the village in front of other ninja villages. There are even fewer candidates taking the exam than the invigilators. How can this exam go on? We must send someone to stop this quickly. The 2 Hokage advisors sitting next to them discussed it in unison. These 2 people did not think that Akihara Kagura's operation was interesting, but that it might cause trouble. Danzo, what do you think? Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at his old friend and asked, this is a kid from your class, what's his name? Let's get someone to stop this first. Shimura Danzo said coldly, not wanting to pay attention to Sarutobi Hiruzen's ridicule, and continue to speak on his own. Even if the excellent want to show their strength, they need someone to set them off. Benzurato. Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at a group of special Jonin waiting for orders and called out their names. You are the examiner of the first exam of the Chunin selection. You will solve this accident. Yes. Benzurato stood up and nodded respectfully. Benzurato still had scars left on his face from the war, and he looked a little scary, but he was a man who spoke and acted a little gently. Although I think that there are only 2 candidates left in the entire examination room, which is also in line with the significance of the Chunin selection, this is ultimately an examination that requires skill. Bing Zulitong looked at the Konoha high-level officials present and seemed to agree with his proposal, and continued, I propose that Uchiha Itachi and Gia pass directly into the second round. Among them, Gia deceived all the candidates, only Uchiha Itachi was not fooled. Both of them are Jonin who took the exam alone, so there should be no need to test their wills in the last question. As for the other Jonin who were deceived, the exam will be rescheduled. Okay. The third Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen nodded with satisfaction. Okay. The 2 Hokage advisors also nodded with satisfaction. Okay. Hokage assistant Shimura Danzo nodded and reminded, Benzurato, don't call him Gia in front of that child, just call him Akihara Kagura. Huh? Benzurato looked at Shimura Danzo with some doubts, and asked carefully, but on the list of the Chunin exam, his name is Gia. He wrote it himself. Shimura Danzo was a little worried that Benzurato's name for Akihara Kagura would cause trouble, so he reminded, Only I can call him Gia. You can just call him Akihara Kagura. After all, that child is always prone to trouble because of a name. However, on the Chunin exam registration form, the child honestly wrote Gia, and Shimura Denzo no longer doubted whether the child did not want to use the name Gia. Yes, Benzurito could only agree. Downstairs of the Hokage, a group of Shinan are trying to find the notice of the new examination room. However, this group of Shinan soon received the news that they were deceived. They wanted to curse, but they were scolded by the examiner instead. You were fooled by such a simple transformation technique. Bing Zulitong looked at this group of Shinan who wanted to curse, and the scar on his left face trembled with anger. You are the worst candidates in the history of Konoha. The group of Shinan dared not say a word. Hatake Kakashi took Tenzo to finish eating ramen, and saw a group of Shinan running by glaring at him, and some even wanted to fight. Why did this group of Shinan hate him? Hey, calm down. Someone stopped the group of Shinan loudly, and scolded in a deep voice, this is the real Hatake Kakashi Jonin. You guys who were deceived, hurry back to the examination room. What happened? Tenzo asked curiously. Bing Zulitong glanced at Hatake Kakashi, feeling a little embarrassed. There is a candidate named Akihara Kagura who turned into the appearance of Hatake Kakashi Sr., knocked out the Chunin who is maintaining order, and drove away all the Jinan candidates in the examination room. Hatake Kakashi's forehead twitched. What's wrong with that kid? He was still wiping the dark department at Ichiriko Ramen this morning. How come it's only been a short time before they started to put the blame on him again? On the other side, a group of Shinan candidates are still working hard to get to the exam. Akihara Kagura and Uchiha Itachi also learned that they had passed the first round of written exams without taking the exam, and they can rush to the second exam venue in advance. What a pity. Akihara Kagura seemed to be a little reluctant. This is the only exam that may prevent me from passing. I still have many cheating methods that I haven't used yet. Cheating. Uchiha Itachi didn't quite understand, because he had been a top student since he was a child. He asked curiously, why cheat when the written exam is very simple? In this world, things that you think are simple are difficult for others. Akihara Kagura looked at Uchiha Itachi deeply, as if she wanted to remember the other's expression at the moment. Second update. Please follow me. Don't support me during the new book period. Chapter 27 Eating is a big problem. Death Forest. The selection venue for the second round of the Chunin exam. Konoha has never changed the location of the second round of the exam, and there is no better outdoor exam venue than this place to test the comprehensive ability of the Shinan team. Just as the name of this exam venue suggests, the Death Forest also has the potential for death, including the dangerous forest environment and wild beasts everywhere, as well as competitors who may appear at any time. Everyone present will look at two people. One is Akihara Kagura, and the other is Uchiha Itachi. These two 10-year-old boys took the exam alone, and they are also the only candidates who passed the first round without taking the exam. The other Jinan went through so much trouble to pass the first round of written exams, but the two little brats were waiting for them at the second exam site without taking the exam. It always makes people feel a little unfair. That brat, is there anything special about him? I've never seen him, nor heard of him. Why do I feel that Uchiha Itachi and that brat are in some kind of tit-for-tat relationship? Could he be a genius like Uchiha Itachi? It's hard to say. After all, a person can take part in the Chunin exam with the approval of the village's high-level officials. He must not be a simple brat. That brat is the guy who tricked us into changing the exam room. The Jinan candidates present suddenly said this, which instantly aroused the public's excitement. They looked in the direction of Akihara Kagura with unhappy faces. Hey, that brat, I did it. Akihara Kagura smiled and admitted what she had done, and extended her hand to invite. Everyone is welcome to come and trouble me. Don't be too arrogant, brat. Several guys who were obviously not easy to mess with came over. Fortunately, the chief examiner of the second exam stopped the conflict. The chief examiner of the second exam was named Yamashiro Aoba, wearing the green uniform of Konoha's special jonin and a pair of sunglasses on his face. Yamashiro Aoba looked at the group of Shinan who wanted to make trouble, and said softly, if you want to fight, you will have plenty of time after entering the examination room. Even. Yamashiro Aoba raised a thick stack of papers in his hand and continued, after signing this consent form, even if you accidentally kill your opponent in the examination room, no one will hold you responsible afterwards. Of course. Anyone who signed this consent form may encounter an accident in this exam, and their life safety will be entirely their own responsibility. Chief Examiner. Akihiro Kagura raised her hand with a smile and asked aloud, "You mean, can I kill someone in the second exam?" Yamashiro Aoba frowned and thought. Every year in the Chunin exam, there are always some arrogant guys who think they can excel in an exam, but in the end they often die under arrogance. Even a genius may die in the forest of death. However, Yamashiro Aoba is not a crazy ninja. He is even a little cowardly and timid. He thought for a while and nodded. From the perspective of the rules, it is possible. Yamashiro Aoba glanced at the young man and persuaded him softly, "The most important thing about this exam is the competition. In addition, it also tests your ability to survive in the wild. Even if you can get the props to pass the level from your competitors, you may not be able to avoid the dangers in the forest and reach the end of the exam." The rules of the second Chunin exam are quite simple. In the battle for the scrolls of heaven and earth, all Junin teams participating in the exam will receive 2 different scrolls, the scrolls of heaven and earth. Within 5 days, any team needs to find a way to survive in the death forest, and snatch the scrolls of other teams to collect the 2 scrolls of heaven and earth. In the death forest examination room, you are not restricted from using any means against your competitors. There is only one condition for victory. The team must hold the scrolls of heaven and earth at the same time within the specified 5 days, and pass through the long death forest to reach the end tower where the chief examiner is. There are many conditions for elimination. First, within the specified 5 days, all members of the team that does not carry the scrolls of heaven and earth to the end will be eliminated. Second, there are situations where there are missing members or members are unable to act in the team, which means that in order to become the winner, all members of the team must arrive. Third, the team that violates the rules and opens the heaven and earth scroll before arriving at the final tower, because once you become a Chunin, you may be exposed to super confidential documents. This is to test your confidentiality ability. Friendly reminder. If you violate the rules and open the scroll during the exam, strange things will happen. Same. To give you time to adapt, all candidates present will enter the examination room through several different entrances. This exam will definitely eliminate more than half of the teams. I hope you will be careful. I will wait for the winner at the final tower. The candidates present soon became noisy. Uchiha Itachi's eyes still did not change at all, but he carefully organized his ninja tool bag because he promised his father that he could pass the Chunin exam. Akihiro Kagura's eyes did not change much either, but he lowered his head and signed the consent form, and he did not seem to care about the danger he encountered in the death forest. There were many people who focused on the 2 teenagers, Uchiha Itachi and Akihiro Kagura, because they were considered 2 teams, and each person held a scroll. Compared with other teams, the chances of winning by beating one person by 3 people seem to be greater, but there are too many people staring at the 2 little ghosts. There are too many wolves and too little meat. Of course. Some people's focus is very strange. Where can I get the supplies? A fat man asked Yamashiro Aoba loudly. Yamashiro Aoba answered the question of the examinee very seriously. Survival in the wild, the resources in the death forest are rich, and it should be enough for you to be self-sufficient. The Junin present felt that these were all small problems. After all, they have all gone out to perform some missions and learned the skills of survival in the wild. This little thing is not a problem at all. Maybe only one person thinks this may be a problem. Akihiro Kagura frowned and began to think about life. He wanted to ask if there was a Junin team that wanted to act as a chef. He could lead this team to win easily. Akihiro Kagura can fish, but he is not good at cooking fish. Akihiro Kagura has never had to consider the problem of cooking. When he was at the experimental base, Orochimaru always kept him healthy. Later, I joined the Root organization. The Root base also had its own cafeteria. Although the food was not very good, it was enough to keep people from starving. Akihiro Kagura looked up at the Junin present. If you can't cook, can't you find a way to get something to eat? The resources in the death forest are enough for people to be self-sufficient, and they will definitely be able to find something to eat. First update. There will be more in the evening. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 28, Danzo, this child should be given to Sarutobi. The net gate of the death forest slowly opened. A group of Junin rushed in from their respective entrances. There were many competitors in this exam. The earlier they entered, the earlier they could seize the opportunity, whether it was to familiarize themselves with the environment in advance or to set traps in the forest. Even Uchiha Itachi was no exception. Only Akihara Kagura slowly walked into the examination room, weighing the scroll of the word earth in his hand, and calmly looking into the dark depths of the death forest. "Hey, kid." A female ninja was responsible for opening the net gate of the exam here. She seemed a little impatient with Akihara Kagura's slow speed and scolded her, "Hurry up and get in. If you are any slower, you will probably be killed tonight." Akihara Kagura turned around and glanced at the other party. This female ninja was wearing a khaki windbreaker with a mesh shirt inside, fishnet stockings on her exposed legs, and her light purple hair was tied up in a messy bun. She didn't look too old. "Hurry up." The female ninja's face was a little impatient. She stared at Akihara Kagura, who had just walked into the examination room. She slammed the door shut with her palm and clapped her palms hard. "Big sister, what's your name?" Akihara Kagura stood inside, smiling at the female ninja. "Huh?" The female ninja was a little surprised at the kid's audacity, and suddenly laughed on her face. "Little kid, you are so brave to take such a dangerous exam. My name is Madara Shienko. If you can come out alive, please treat me to meatballs. I will remember you." Akihara Kagura didn't mention the dinner at all. "I didn't recognize the wrong person at all. This female ninja's name is Madara Shienko. She was once a disciple of Orochimaru, and she also has the smell of Orochimaru's chakra. In a sense, this person named Madara Shienko is also my former colleague and my current colleague. I will take her to meet my old boss when I have time." What a spirited child. Madara Shienko tilted her head and narrowed her eyes with a smile. "Then do your best and try not to die too early in the forest of death." "Well, I'll remember you." Akihara Kagura nodded and repeated her words. Just when Madara Shienko wanted to say something, she saw Akihara Kagura suddenly raise her fingers and put them together to form the seal of the snake. Wood release, tree world birth. Thick vines and tree roots drilled out from the ground. Tall and towering giant trees on the ground stretched out with the vines and tree roots. Akihara Kagura controlled her chakra, raised her fingers again, and controlled the branches of the trees to gather together. Wood release, wood dragon technique. A huge wooden dragon snaked out from the tree trunk. The wooden dragon slowly lowered its body like a giant beast, slid in front of Akihara Kagura, supported the boy's body with its head, and slowly raised its head again. How can this be a wood release ninjutsu? Madara Shienko looked at the scene in the death forest with horror on her face. "I'll remember you." Akihara Kagura turned around and repeated it to Madara Shienko again, controlling the wooden dragon to circle and wander towards the depths of the death forest. "Let's go and say hello to everyone first. This kid." Madara Shienko thought for a moment, then jumped and rushed towards the direction of the examiner. In fact, there was no need for Madara Shienko to report. Almost everyone present saw the huge wooden dragon appear. The wooden dragon was almost floating above the death forest, and even made everyone think that they were attacked by an unknown enemy. Hokage building. A group of Konoha high-level officials watched everything on the screen in surprise. Even though Shimura Danzo had long known that Akihara Kagura had mastered the wood dragon technique, he never thought that this child could fully restore it under his abstract teaching method. The third Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen held a pipe in his hand, but was reluctant to put it into his mouth. His brain was spinning rapidly, and he was calmly thinking about what this child who mastered wood release meant to Konoha. Compared with Sarutobi Hiruzen, the other two Hokage advisors did not have to think so much. The starting point of their proposals was all for the benefit of Konoha. Their eyes immediately fell on Shimura Danzo. One of the old men wore glasses, and his name was Miro Katoen. The other old lady squinted her eyes, and her name was Udatane Kaharu. These two Hokage advisors were once Shimura Danzo's teammates, so they were naturally not so taboo when talking, and they asked the most critical questions directly. "Danzo, when did this child awaken wood release?" "Danzo, whose child is this? How did the wood release bloodline in his body awaken? Does he have the blood of the Senju clan?" Danzo Shimura was silent for a while, then he answered, "This is a child from the Konoha orphanage. Many years ago, when Orochimaru conducted illegal wood release human experiments on him, he survived. Since I saw that the child had a strong vitality, I brought the child to the root, and he suddenly awakened wood release not long ago." "Is that so?" Layers of age lines appeared on Mito Katoen's brows, and he sighed and said, "It seems to be a very accidental event. Yuta Tenkaru's tone was no longer so excited. I thought I could let the village have the wood-release bloodline of the first Hokage again, but those human experiments are still too dangerous for the people participating in the experiments. Is just an individual case. Danzo Shimura also nodded slowly. Sarutobi Hiruzen finished thinking, picked up his pipe again, and slowly uttered the first sentence. It seems that this child's wood release is very powerful, and he can almost completely restore the wood release ninjutsu of the first Hokage. One day, he may become the next first Hokage. Oh. The two Hokage advisors immediately became curious. Midokado and had never paid attention to the wood release ninjutsu recorded in the sealed book. After all, Konoha had never been able to restore the wood release of the first Hokage, so he subconsciously asked, can this child become a ninja as powerful as the first Hokage? Danzo Shimura understood what Hiruzen Sarutobi meant almost immediately, and hurriedly said, this child's wood release ninjutsu is simply not comparable to the first Hokage, the tree world descent. Danzo, you are too limited. Hiruzen Sarutobi glanced at Danzo Shimura and seemed to explain seriously, the tree world descent technique is not perfect yet, but the wood dragon technique is different. If the effect of his wood dragon technique is the same as that recorded in the Book of Sealing, it can even suppress the tailed beasts. This child's wood release talent is much stronger than you think. It's a waste to let him do those little things in the dark in the roots. Wait, Danzo Shimura's eyes widened involuntarily. Yes, Danzo. Yuta Tenkaru frowned and suggested, Danzo, it's a waste to keep this child in the roots. This child should be handed over to Sarutobi. Danzo Shimura clenched his crutches tightly. Why does this sentence sound familiar? Why is it my turn to hear the things I always said to Sarutobi Hiruzen in the past? Second update. Please read it. Chapter 29. Danzo, you don't mind, do you? Sarutobi, you promised me. Shimura. Danzo's eyes were gloomy, staring at Sarutobi Hiruzen, who was sitting leisurely in the Hokage's office chair. This old friend wanted to snatch him from him. This hypocritical old bastard had clearly promised him before that he would not transfer Akihara Kagura away from the root. What kind of attitude is this now? Sarutobi Hiruzen didn't even need to ask for it actively, as if he didn't mean it at all. However, his words implied that Akihara Kagura's wood release had an important use, and the two Hokage advisors would naturally support him. After all, Sarutobi Hiruzen was the Hokage, and he was just an assistant to the Hokage who helped him do the dirty work. Everything is for Konoha. Mizuto Kado-en looked at Shimura. Danzo. He knew his old friend and tried to persuade him, for the future benefit of the village, we can only temporarily sacrifice the combat effectiveness of the Anbu training class. What did Sarutobi promise you? I promised Danzo that I would not transfer that child away from the root class. Sarutobi Hiruzen let go of his pipe, sighed and said, although this may delay the growth of that child and affect the overall situation in the village, especially when Konoha is facing internal and external troubles, I can't go back on my promise. Sarutobi. Mizuto Kado-en immediately interrupted Sarutobi Hiruzen and said in a deep voice, have you forgotten your promise to the village when you became Hokage? Is there anything more important than the promise to protect Konoha? That child's wood release can protect Konoha. Hypocrisy. So hypocritical. Shimura. Danzo stared at Sarutobi Hiruzen. Monkey, the old bastard, doesn't want to keep his promise at all. Mido Kado-en was fooled, Yuta Tenkaru was also fooled, both Hokage advisors were fooled by the old bastard monkey. He is the most hypocritical person. However, the current situation is 3-1. Shimura. Danzo has no way to raise any objections. Danzo. Sarutobi Hiruzen noticed the ugly face of Shimura. Danzo and said gently, it seems that I have to break my promise. At this point, Sarutobi Hiruzen even asked a democratic question, you shouldn't mind if I transfer that child over. Shimura. Danzo's face was gloomy. You bastard, use your brain to think about it, you should know that I will definitely mind. But can I still do this kind of thing? However, when Danzo Shimura thought of Akihara Kagura's wood release talent, he couldn't help but say something, that child has already been trained to be a killing machine. Perhaps it is best to keep him in the Anbu training class. Danzo Shimura looked back at the screen showing the Death Forest examination room and said coldly, the darkness in that child's heart is too deep, and his actions are too extreme. If I hadn't ordered him not to kill people casually, that child would have made this Chunin exam a bloodbath. Oh. The two Hokage advisors looked at Danzo Shimura with a little curiosity. Mido Kado-en seemed to have seen something incredible, as if he was looking at a liar. Danzo, You stopped the child from killing people. You stopped that child from killing people? How can you say such a thing? Is there anyone in the world who does things more extreme than you? Everyone present is an old friend. Who doesn't know the way you train children? Danzo, who likes to gather a group of children together to train them, and then force them to kill each other, and train children to become killing tools from an early age, will stop a child from killing people. Okay. Since Danzo said so. Sarutobi Hiruzen picked up his pipe again, nodded and said, "It seems that we can only arrange this child to enter the Anbu first." Danzo Shimura gritted his teeth. Is this old bastard really listening to me? Must he be transferred to your own Anbu? Can't the child continue to stay in the route? The point I made is that this child only listens to my orders, and it is not a question of which department the child should be placed in. Monkey, this old bastard who is ambiguous, has already tacitly agreed to a result. Akihara Kagero must be transferred, right? After the Chunin exam is over, let him report to the Anbu. Sarutobi Hiruzen pretended not to understand what Danzo Shimura meant, and took the opportunity to finalize the result first, and issued the order neatly. Wait, Danzo Shimura hurriedly opened his mouth and wanted to make another suggestion. Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at Shimura Danzo and continued, as compensation for the route's combat power, you can carefully select 2 capable people from the village. Shimura Danzo was speechless. Who can be compared with that kid Akihara Kagura? What's more, he is the assistant of the Hokage. If he wants to transfer people from those small ninja clans to the route, do those small ninja clans dare to refuse? Shimura Danzo tightly grasped the crutches. If this old bastard was not the Hokage, Danzo wanted to raise the crutches in his hand and hit Sarutobi Hiruzen's unwilling old face hard. Everyone has no objection, so let's decide it this way first. Sarutobi Hiruzen slowly picked up his pipe again and continued to look at the screen. Let's continue to see if there are other outstanding children in this Chunin exam. Sarutobi Hiruzen felt that Shimura Danzo was staring at him again. However, when Sarutobi Hiruzen turned around, he found that Shimura Danzo was also staring at the screen showing the Chunin exam. It seems that Shimura Danzo still hates him for breaking his promise, so he would secretly stare at him from time to time. Sarutobi Hiruzen just laughed at this. This old friend is still so timid that he dare not look him in the eye openly. Death Forest Examination Hall. The huge wooden dragon slowly wanders in the sky. Akihara Kagura stands on the head of the wooden dragon, using ninja darkness to spy on the situation in the Hokage building. The boy has already known in advance that he will be transferred to the Anbu. After all, this is what Akihara Kagura originally intended. Because there is too little free time in the route, he is always under the surveillance of Shimura Danzo and the members of the route. At least he can have some breathing space in the Anbu. The most important thing is that the Anbu has a more complete organizational structure than the route. The boss of the route is only Shimura Danzo, but the Anbu has bosses such as the squad leader, the captain and the general captain, and the benefits of being in the Anbu are more. Besides, who said that when you stay in the Anbu and are loyal to the Hokage, you can't continue to be loyal to Danzo? I can still continue to be loyal to Lord Orochimaru. Look what's that up there. As the wooden dragon swam, shouts came from the Death Forest from time to time. Every Jinan candidate who looked up and saw the wooden dragon had a look of fear on his face. Why is this Chunin exam so exciting? How come something like this just started? Hello everyone, a young man's voice came from the wooden dragon. Akihara Kagura controlled the wooden dragon and slowly moved it down. The wooden dragon's head hovered in front of a team. The huge head was bigger than the 3 people combined. Akihara Kagura looked at the 3 people and said slowly, 3, can you hand over what I need? Lord Danzo said that I am not allowed to kill people at will. I guess you don't want me to disobey Lord Danzo's orders, right? What do you need? One of the tall ninjas who was in the lead was obviously very aware of the current situation and took the initiative to say, our scroll may be the same as yours. It doesn't matter. The young man tilted his head and said softly, in this forest of death, scrolls are real hard currency and are more useful than money. Who would complain that they have too much money? The first update. Chapter 30, The Boy and the Dragon. Give me the scroll. Akihara Kagura extended his hand very kindly. The sheer size of the wood dragon technique and the shock of seeing a wood dragon for the first time alone would most likely put an end to the team's desire to resist. Whoosh! The scroll drew an arc. Akihara Kagura took the scroll, drove the wood dragon and turned away, leaving only a sentence in the wind. Thank you for your cooperation. I hope there will be opportunities for cooperation in the future. The three Jinin looked at each other. It's better not to have such an opportunity again. Tisk, you're lucky. Akihiro Kagura glanced at the scroll in his hand. The first team he met allowed him to collect the Heaven and Earth scroll. Although the boy always thought that it would not be difficult for him to pass the second round, he didn't expect to collect the scroll so smoothly, which would inevitably make him feel better. The remaining time of this exam is probably the rest time for an outing in the wild. Akihiro Kagura didn't have any obsession with leaving as soon as possible. Akihiro Kagura knew that Shimura Danzo must be in a bad mood. After leaving, she would have to face Danzo's dead face. It would be better to stay here for a while. When the boss is in a bad mood, you must not take the initiative to approach him, especially if you are the root cause of his bad mood. You should give him as much time as possible and let him think it over slowly. I don't know when I can meet the next team. Akihiro Kagura drove the wooden dragon in the Death Forest, intending to find his chef team for the next few days, and also tried to search for Uchiha Itachi's traces. It's a pity. The area of the Death Forest is too large after all. The entire Death Forest has a radius of at least 10 kilometers. There are more than a dozen teams scattered in the forest of more than 300 square kilometers, and even their entrance is unknown. The dense forest will also be their shielding and protection. This is a game of escape, hiding and plundering. Only Akihiro Kagura can rely on his wooden dragon to swim arrogantly in the Death Forest, and even use this advantage to search for enemies around. However, the disadvantages of the wooden dragon are also obvious. Humans are born with the instincts to seek benefits and avoid harm. Any enemy who can see the wooden dragon will hide quietly after the initial shock. Akihiro Kagura's chakra volume is very large, which also improves his ability to perceive chakra, but it cannot compare with the most powerful perception type blood limit of the ninja world, the Byakugan. The ninja teams participating in the exam this time have chosen to hide. The situation in the Death Forest is unclear. There is a huge wooden dragon wandering over the forest. The best choice is undoubtedly to hide and avoid unknown dangers. Even Uchiha Itachi had to choose to lurk. The entire Death Forest gradually became silent. Akihiro Kagura patrolled back and forth twice. The first team he encountered seemed to have used up his luck, so he never met the second team of competitors. No one is willing to come out. Akihiro Kagura frowned and controlled the wooden dragon to swim towards the central tower. If no one wants to come out, then don't come out forever. The periphery of the Death Forest. A group of examiners stayed outside the Death Forest to discuss unexpected situations that occurred during the exam. Their duty was to ensure the smooth progress of the second exam. Obviously, an accident occurred in the Death Forest. The child Akihiro Kagura was the biggest accident. Because Madara Shianko brought back the news that Akihiro Kagura was a wood-release ninja, and with the order from the Hokage building, this child was regarded as the focus of the work by the examiners. Are you finally stopping wandering around? What does that brat want to do? What we should be more concerned about is how long this technique can last. We don't know yet. We haven't seen the first Hokage's wood-release ninjutsu either. We don't know how long it can last. Hokage told us not to worry. If that brat wants to search for the enemy in this way, who can tell that brat that this method won't work and the enemy will just hide forever? Great strength alone is useless without enough brains. His behavior will only cause other teams to be afraid to act. It's getting dark. Everyone needs to prepare supplies. This survival in the wild may turn into an escape in the wild. Did that brat collect all the scrolls? Are the two scrolls in his hand the ones with the word heaven and earth? If he collects them sooner, he should come out sooner. The surveillance can't see clearly. A group of examiners looked at the huge wooden dragon swimming in the surveillance and felt an incredible headache. They had never seen such a troublesome candidate in the Chunin exam. If Akihiro Kagura, the examinee, relied on his ninjutsu to do something troublesome, it would be bad if the entire Chunin exam collapsed. However, accidents still happen. An examiner suddenly looked at the monitoring screen in front of him with horror. Something big has happened. That wooden dragon has entangled the tower. Don't panic. The chief examiner, Aoba Yamashiro, held up his sunglasses and pretended to be calm. It doesn't matter. That kid must want to seal off the tower at the end and ambush other teams there. Aoba Yamashiro felt that he had caught Akihiro Kagura's thoughts, and continued slowly. This kind of strategy is not available every year, and only a few can succeed in the end. Even if his ninjutsu is very strong, he may not be able to catch the cunning one. But Madara Shianko held a meatball in her mouth and muttered, I remember that the broken tower in the Death Forest has not been repaired for many years. The tower at the end collapsed. An examiner in charge of monitoring the tower at the end area suddenly became excited, his face full of panic. The wooden dragon entangled the tower at the end and directly destroyed the tower. The pass point for the second exam was destroyed by that kid. What the hell? Why did you cut off everyone's way? How much trouble will this kind of thing bring to our work? All the examiners present were instantly boiling with excitement. This kind of thing is simply adding a difficulty to the normal work process that the staff cannot solve or even consider. Yamashiro Aoba, the only examiner, had cold sweat on his forehead. He was a little timid by nature, and at this time he seemed to want to stay calm. Don't worry, don't worry, don't worry. Think about what you should do when you encounter this kind of thing. Why are you still standing there? Uterashianko bit her meatball and put forward her own opinion. The Tower of the End is just a signal mark point for arrival. The tower only records the correct way to open the scroll of heaven and earth. As long as the candidates arrive with the scroll of heaven and earth, it will be fine. Send someone to guard there quickly to avoid causing panic. Wait for the candidates to arrive at that area with the scroll of heaven and earth, and tell them the correct way to open the scroll of heaven and earth, and there will be no problem. Anko. Yamashiro Aoba was saved, and quickly rushed to Uterashianko. This matter is left to you. Take people there immediately. In the center of the Death Forest, the tower at the end has been reduced to ruins. Akihiro Kagura sat in front of the ruins, and a huge wooden dragon hovered over the ruins behind the boy. In the afterglow of the setting sun, a scene of the boy and the dragon was reflected. Second update. Please read on, don't support me. Thanks to all the readers for reading on. I finally passed the first round of the test and will enter the second round tomorrow. Chapter 31 Hongdao Sr., I'm afraid I'll forget you. The strange sound of the tower at the end collapsing shook the Death Forest. A group of hidden Jinan candidates finally couldn't hold back, looking at the disappearing end in the distance, began to worry about their grades, and quickly began to rush towards the center of the forest. Akihiro Kagura sat on the steps in front of the ruins, watching the birds in the forest startled by the crowd, and a smile slowly appeared at the corner of her mouth. Fish will always take the bait. Akihiro Kagura controlled the huge wooden dragon and disappeared beside her, almost whispering, "It's about to start, wooden dragon." It's obvious. The first person to arrive must be someone who travels light. As a person who participated in the Chunin exam alone, Uchiha Itachi didn't have to worry about the speed of his teammates at all. He hid immediately when he arrived near the central area. The genius boy of the Uchiha clan hid in a fallen leaf, secretly observing Akihiro Kagura sitting in the ruins and the wooden dragon behind him. It turned out to be him. Uchiha Itachi was not the only one who was equally surprised. Another team that came soon saw Akihiro Kagura's appearance. Originally, they also wanted to continue hiding, but as teams gathered in this area, conflicts were inevitable. "Why are you hiding here? Asshole, are you trying to ambush us? Get rid of these despicable guys first. Don't throw shuriken randomly." The scene quickly became chaotic. This area was not large, and soon a series of small-scale battles broke out, and the chaos of the battle also affected other hidden people. This is an opportunity. Due to the collapse of the terminal tower, all teams were forced to gather in this area in advance, and some powerful teams took the opportunity to snatch the scroll of heaven and earth. Even though Uchiha Itachi's hiding place was very hidden, it was finally discovered by the fiercely fighting ninjas and was forced to join the fight. The situation does not allow us to fight like this. Uchiha Itachi, hand over your scroll, and I will let you go. This team was no match for Uchiha Itachi at all, and was soon defeated by Uchiha Itachi, and the opponent's scroll also fell into Uchiha Itachi's hands. It's lucky, and it went smoothly. Uchiha Itachi collected all the scrolls of heaven and earth, and quickly withdrew to the side. He didn't want to get involved in a dispute without reason, and his eyes fell on Akihiro Kagura again. But it's not lucky, and it's not smooth. In addition to the little guy Uchiha Itachi, many people also realized the threat of Akihiro Kagura, and ran around shouting for everyone present to gather together. "Everyone stop. Go away. We will deal with you first. Everyone stop fighting. Deal with that kid first. Don't forget the wooden dragon behind the kid. It's not something our team can deal with. Don't let him take advantage of it." Unfortunately, once the battle begins, even if the participants in the battle still retain their sanity, it is not so easy to stop. Just as a long-haired ninja was trying to call on everyone to stop the internal fighting, a childish voice appeared in the field. "Hey, it's not easy to stop the fight. If it goes on like this, people will die. Why don't I help you? Who? The long-haired ninja turned back with some joy. However, his eyes soon froze, because he saw the person he least wanted to see, Akihara Kagura, slowly walking down the steps of the ruins. Would release the birth of the tree world. The ground in the entire area trembled again. One by one, vines and roots quickly sprang out from Akihara Kagura's feet, and in the blink of an eye, a tall giant tree grew. What the hell is this? Run. Hurry up and help me cut it off. The branches and roots on these giant trees continued to stretch quickly, tying all the Jinan candidates who came into contact with them to the trees. The efficiency of the ninja sword is too low. Uchiha Itachi wielded the ninja sword and cut off a branch as thick as his arm. He quickly put away the ninja sword, retreated rapidly, and quickly formed hand seals with both hands. Fire style, great fireball technique. A huge fireball fell on the vines that attacked him, and the flames immediately spread and burned the vines back, and even ignited a giant tree. However, this efficiency is still too slow. The power of the great fireball technique is not enough to burn all the giant trees, and it is even unable to stop the spread of the tree world birth technique. No. The scrolls have been collected. Stay away and wait and see. Uchiha Itachi looked at his two scrolls and decided to retreat first. His figure quickly disappeared here. The other candidates did not have his strength, nor did they have such good luck. Akihara Kagura's tree world advent was far from a ninjutsu they could handle. The ninjas from other teams were exhausted by the continuous attacks of vines and tree roots. A group of Jinan were hung on the same tree. The group of people swayed like fruits hanging on the tree. Akihara Kagura stepped on the head of the wooden dragon and slowly stood at the same height as them. She asked, "You are lucky. Although killing is allowed in the second round of the Chunin exam, Master Danzo does not allow me to kill, so I will not kill you. What do you want to do?" A ninja asked the question that everyone wanted to ask. Akihara Kagura was playing with a scroll in her hand and asked, "First, hand over what I need first, and second, what are you doing?" A familiar female voice came over. When Madara Shianko came with a group of Chunin examiners, they saw such a strange scene, which made a group of people stop. Akihara Kagura saw a group of examiners arriving. A group of Jinan who were hung up looked at the examiner, and their eyes showed hope, hoping that the examiner would intervene in the exam and rescue them. However, the person who came always claimed to be the most cruel female ninja in Konoha. Madara Shianko ignored the eager Jinan and pointed at the ruined tower, asking loudly, "Are you destroying the endpoint of the second exam to make it impossible for everyone to pass the exam? The village won't let this happen." Akihara Kagura looked down at the group of Chunin examiners and explained, "I just want to lure them out. I'm not very good at surviving in the wild. I can only use this method to force them out and grab some food from these guys. What a pity I caught a fish, and it seems that the owner of the fish pond has also come to my door." What a weird metaphor. Madara Shianko still had a meatball in her mouth, frowned and said, "Aren't you worried that you will be eliminated?" "No worries. Someone told me the passcode for the second level in advance." Akihara Kagura spread out her palms and continued indifferently, "Strictly speaking, the pass requirement for the second Chunin exam is to collect all the scrolls of heaven and earth and rush here. I guess there should be people here who know about this." Madara Shianko took a bite of the meatball angrily. Akihara Kagura licked her lips. "Tisk, kid, are you hungry?" Madara Shianko continued to chew the meatball, seemed to have thought of something, and suddenly grinned. "If you have collected all the scrolls of heaven and earth in your hands and want to pass the level at this time, you can accept the food given to you by people outside the venue." When Madara Shianko said this, he even took out a food bag and continued slowly, "If you stay here and eat the food made by these people, what if they poison it? There are many precedents for this kind of thing during the Chunin exam." Madara Shianko's thinking is quite clear. As long as this kid can be sent out of the examination room, the troubles that may arise in the examination room in the future can be solved. To be honest, this kid is always causing trouble. Akihara Kagura laughed and raised his palm. The two scrolls of heaven and earth flew up in his hand and were thrown towards Madara Shianko. "Tisk, you made the right choice." Madara Shianko took the two scrolls and said with a smile, "Although the normal process should teach you how to open the scroll of heaven and earth, I think this kind of thing is too time-consuming for you. Congratulations on becoming the first candidate to pass the level. I also choose to pass the level." Uchiha Itachi suddenly appeared here without knowing when. When Uchiha Itachi saw the Chunin examiners appear, he immediately realized that as long as he saw the examiners, he might be able to pass the level directly from the examiners. because the tower at the end of the level has been destroyed. Congratulations on becoming the second place. Madara Shianko quickly glanced at Uchiha Itachi and added, the kid from the Uchiha clan, it's still time to go to the sweet shop in the village to buy 3 color meatballs. Because the two of them have always been regular customers of the Konoha sweet shop, Madara Shianko also knew that Uchiha Itachi, the kid, liked 3 color meatballs. Ah, thank you, senior. Uchiha Itachi nodded awkwardly and quickly jumped towards the exit. Akihara Kagura ignored all this, his eyes fell on the food bag in Madara Shianko's hand, as if waiting for Madara Shianko to give him the bag. Madara Shianko took out a bunch of meatballs from the bag, took a bite, and showed a fierce expression on his face. Little boy, you have caused so much trouble for us examiners, do you think I will share my favorite sweets with you? Tisk, you've been fooled again. Akihara Kagura couldn't help laughing, still looking at the fierce Madara Shianko. Senior Anko, I'm a little worried that I will forget you. The first update. I dug a little hole. This chapter is almost 3,000 words. I tried to make it longer. Chapter 32, First Contact with Uzumaki Naruto. Finally, we sent that brat away. Madara Shianko bit her meatball and felt relieved. Why do I feel like it's not a good idea to deceive a little guy? A Chunin examiner asked cautiously, as if he was afraid of Madara Shianko's temper, and added, of course, that brat caused a lot of trouble in the exam, and you helped everyone to vent their anger. Because of that brat Akihara Kagura, the entire Chunin exam was a bit messy. In the first written exam, the little brat Akihara Kagura used the transformation technique to fool all the candidates, almost causing the entire Chunin exam to collapse. In the second outdoor survival, the little brat Akihara Kagura destroyed the end of the clearance, and almost captured all the teams by himself, making it seem like he was going to eliminate all the competitors in the second round, and almost making it impossible for the third exam to proceed. Forget it. Madara Shianko waved her hand, looked at Akihara Kagura's figure going away, and said indifferently, such lively children just need to be educated. Where are the remaining candidates? Did that kid cancel the spell? Madara Shianko looked at the group of candidates staggering in the death forest. Originally, we should have eliminated all of these guys, but this time we should let them fight on their own. They are all gathered here, and the results should be out soon. It's getting dark. The night of Konoha village gradually became quiet. The shops on the street began to close, leaving only a few shops and the lights of a Chiriko ramen emitting warm orange in the night. Goo 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 goo. A yellow-haired little boy hid under the eaves, stroking his hungry stomach, looking at a Chiriko ramen not far away, and turning over his palm to count his few remaining coins. This little money is not enough for a bowl of noodles. A young boy's voice appeared in the little boy's ear. Yes. The yellow-haired boy nodded subconsciously, and then he realized that someone appeared beside him. He took 2 steps back. Who are you? A person who is also hungry. The boy reached out and stroked his hungry flat stomach, and then rummaged through his empty pockets. A person who is also poor and destitute. The corner of the yellow-haired boy's eyes twitched. Come on. The boy squatted on the steps under the eaves, waved to the little boy and said, squat down and take a rest, you won't feel too hungry. The yellow-haired boy slowly walked over. Many people in the village would scold him and never allow him to get close to them. This older brother did not reject him. This yellow-haired boy is Uzumaki Naruto, the 9-tails Jinchuriki of Konoha village, with the most ferocious tailed beast in the ninja world sealed in his body. This boy is Akihara Kagura. After leaving the Forest of Death, he didn't want to return to the roots so early, so he took this opportunity to see the scenery in Konoha. Unexpectedly, he met the little boy Uzumaki Naruto on the street. This is a child that people can't hate. The story of this little boy always inspires many people to move forward bravely. Even Akihara Kagura has to admit that if it weren't for the story of this little boy in his previous life, no one would like this ninja world. He is the warmest son in this ninja world. Uzumaki Naruto would not know this. The little guy was still somewhat happy, as if he had met someone who didn't hate him, and he curiously started the topic, are you a ninja in the village? Yes. Akihara Kagura nodded, glanced at the little yellow-haired boy beside him, and added, in a few days, I will be the village's chunin. Do you know what level of ninja a chunin is? It's a height that you, a little kid, will never reach in your lifetime. Uzumaki Naruto's forehead jumped, he pouted in dissatisfaction, and waved his little fists vigorously. That's impossible. I want to surpass the Hokage. Do you know what kind of person the Hokage is? The strongest person in the village is the Hokage, then you have to eat first. Akihara Kagura's words instantly defeated the little yellow-haired boy's passionate fighting spirit, and he continued slowly, children must eat well to grow up healthily. Aren't you hungry too? Uzumaki Naruto rubbed his rumbling stomach and immediately fought back. I could have gotten by with a full meal for a few days. Akihara Kagura changed her posture and sat on the steps, with her hands between her legs, her eyes a little dark. Unfortunately, I was cheated today. Although I also felt troubled and was willing to be cheated by her, she cheated me like this, which still makes me angry. So long-winded. Uzumaki Naruto picked his ears. Is that so? Akihara Kagura smiled, stretched out her hand and patted Uzumaki Naruto's head, with a smile on her face. It doesn't matter, sooner or later, you will also have this feeling. No way. Uzumaki Naruto retorted loudly, saying that his IQ could not be that low. I won't be fooled as easily as you. Really? Akihara Kagura didn't seem to believe it. Just as Akihara Kagura and little Naruto were chatting here, an old man with a pipe in his mouth passed by the street and suddenly stopped in front of them. Grandpa. Uzumaki Naruto's face immediately became excited. Because he just happened to know this old man. When he was feeling down or sad, this old man would occasionally appear beside him. Hey, Naruto. The old man blew out a smoke ring while holding his pipe, and said slowly, it's so late, why don't you go home and sleep? The old man didn't even wait for Uzumaki Naruto to answer, his eyes fell on Akihara Kagura. There's also a little guy here, why doesn't he go to rest at night? Because I'm so hungry. Uzumaki Naruto knocked his stomach, suddenly raised his head and looked at the old man and said, Grandpa, take me fishing. It just so happens that he is too hungry to sleep, let's go fishing by the river together. As long as we catch fish, we will have food. Okay, the old man stretched out his hand with a kind face, stroked Uzumaki Naruto's head, but his eyes still stayed on Akihara Kagura. Little guy, since you haven't eaten, you can go with us. I want to eat ramen. Akihara Kagura responded slowly. This little guy is really rude. The old man's eyes twitched, and he quickly got used to Akihara Kagura's attitude, and said with a smile, the old man didn't carry much money when he went out. Do you two little guys have money? These are all I have. Uzumaki Naruto showed the old man the coins in his hand. My pockets are cleaner than my face. Akihara Kagura shook his head and stood up on his own. Forget it, I've played enough today. If I go back too late, Lord Danzo will be angry. What an obedient child. The old man praised with a smile, and said, I have a friend named Danzo, I remember he shouldn't be so easily angry. Second update. Chapter 33, Lord Danzo must want to become Hokage. Why do people always try to deceive me? Who dares to say that Shimura Danzo doesn't get angry easily? Can Konoha find someone who likes to lose his temper more than Shimura Danzo? Akihara Kagura quietly stared at the old man's smiling face. This old guy was clearly the culprit who made Shimura Danzo so angry that he wanted to kill someone. Let's go fishing first. The old man slowly blew out a smoke ring. His smile seemed very kind. If the little guy doesn't have enough food at night, it will affect his growth. The old man looked at Akihara Kagura, who seemed unmoved, and continued, if you go back too late, and Danzo is angry, I will help you persuade him. Oh. Akihara Kagura raised his eyebrows, revealing a provocative expression. Sir Danzo is the assistant Hokage of the village. Is your word useful? Danzo and I have been friends for many years. The old man nodded, his eyes clearly revealing confidence. He was very confident that he could suppress Danzo. He will listen to me when I speak. Old people just like to brag. There was an obvious dissatisfaction on Akihara Kagura's face. Grandpa is a Hokage of the village. Uzumaki Naruto responded quickly, but then he clenched his fist and added, but this is only temporary. When I grow up, I will definitely replace him and become the Hokage, and I will definitely surpass him. Just as Uzumaki Naruto said, the old man was the third-generation Hokage of Konoha, Sarutobi Hiruzen, but this time he was not wearing the Hokage hat on his head. Sarutobi Hiruzen had originally planned to observe the situation in the village after watching the farce in the Death Forest in the office, but he saw Akihara Kagura and Uzumaki Naruto together. Sarutobi Hiruzen immediately wanted to take the opportunity to meet these two little guys. It has always been his favorite thing to pass on the will of fire to the future of the village. Since Sarutobi Hiruzen was not arrogant, the children, including Uzumaki Naruto, had no fear of the third-generation Hokage, but only respect. Of course. Some children in the village did not know that the old grandfather who was always wandering around the village was the Hokage. When they suddenly learned about it from other people, they would always exclaim wow, showing a very surprised look, and their attitude would become respectful. Sarutobi Hiruzen was very happy to touch the children's heads affectionately at this time, showing that the village's Hokage was a gentle and kind old man. This kind of children tend to love the elderly more. This kind of children are also more likely to be planted with the seeds of the will of fire. However, there was something unexpected today. After Akihara Kagura learned that the old man in front of him was the third Hokage, he showed a look of shock, and then showed a hint of vigilant hostility. Sarutobi Hiruzen's face was still that kind of smile, and he didn't seem to care about Akihara Kagura's hostility at all. He knew that the children under Danzo were not normal. Are you the third Hokage? Akihara Kagura looked at Sarutobi Hiruzen vigilantly, frowned and shook his head. You don't look like a Hokage at all. The real Hokage should be like Danzo-sama. When Akihara Kagura said this, he seemed to remember the declaration of Uzumaki Naruto next to him that he wanted to become a Hokage. Don't dream, kid. Akihara Kagura held down Uzumaki Naruto's head and ruffled his hair. You have no chance. The Hokage of Konoha will definitely be Danzo-sama in the future. Take your hand away. Uzumaki Naruto grabbed Akihara Kagura's wrist and retorted loudly, impossible. I will become the Hokage. That Danzo is simply impossible. Why is it impossible? Akihara Kagura patted Uzumaki Naruto's head. Konoha can be without anyone, but it cannot be without Danzo-sama. Danzo-sama will definitely become the Hokage. Sarutobi Hiruzen, who was watching all this, showed a little edge in his eyes. However, this sharp look immediately disappeared without a trace, and the old man immediately returned to his kind attitude, as if it had never appeared at all. Oh. Danzo wants to become Hokage. Sarutobi Hiruzen chuckled and continued slowly. I grew up with him, and I have never heard that he has the ideal of becoming Hokage. How can you say such a thing? How can you say such a conscienceless thing? Don't you know Danzo's thoughts at all, old man? Yes. Danzo never told me. But as Danzo is #1 confidant, I must know what Danzo is thinking. While suppressing Uzumaki Naruto, who wanted to continue to refute, Akihara Kagura solemnly asked Sarutobi Hiruzen, does Danzo really not want to become Hokage? Sarutobi Hiruzen didn't know how to answer for a moment. If he lied about this question, he would be exposed, and would leave the impression that he was a liar to the boy in front of him. How could he pass on the will of fire to him in the future? Maybe I thought about it. Sarutobi Hiruzen decided to use a trumped-up trick. I knew it was like that. Akihara Kagura patted Uzumaki Naruto, motioning the little guy to be quiet, then looked at Sarutobi Hiruzen and continued, in fact, Danzo-sama also wanted to become Hokage, right? Sarutobi Hiruzen nodded silently. Did the Sandaime Hokage just say that he and Danzo-sama are friends? Akihara Kagura seemed to have grasped the truth, and began to make up stories nonchalantly. Maybe the Sandaime Hokage and Danzo-sama both had the opportunity to run for the position of Hokage, and Danzo-sama had a great chance to become Hokage, but he didn't want to compete with his friends so as not to lose friendship, so he had to give up the position of Hokage to the Sandaime Hokage. Sarutobi Hiruzen's expression became a little bad. At the beginning, his position of Hokage was personally designated by his teacher, the second Hokage Senju Tobirama, and it can even be said that he was appointed in a critical moment. Shimura Danzo never had the opportunity to become Hokage. You little brat, your filter for Shimura Danzo is too serious. Sarutobi Hiruzen felt that the topic he was discussing with Akihara Kagura had deviated a little. Wasn't he here to convey the will of fire to the future of the village? Why was he discussing the competition between him and Shimura Danzo for the position of Hokage? Kid. Sarutobi Hiruzen took a long puff of his cigarette and blew out a big smoke ring, determined to get the topic back on track. Hokage is not a position that people fight for, but a responsibility that needs to be borne. The Hokage carries the expectations and recognition of everyone in the village. Hokage Akihara Kagura lowered her head and fell into deep thought, seemingly convinced by Sarutobi Hiruzen's words. Do you need to bear the expectations and recognition of everyone in the village? Yes. Sarutobi Hiruzen's voice was a little tired. Seeing Akihara Kagura and Uzumaki Naruto in front of him fell into deep thought, Sarutobi Hiruzen finally nodded with satisfaction and planned to teach these two little guys a good lesson. The Sandaime Hokage. Akihara Kagura's expression suddenly became serious. My hope is to be able to eat a bowl of hot Ichiriko ramen when I'm hungry. Me too. Me too. Uzumaki Naruto also quickly raised his hand. looked at Akihara Kagura and said, "When I become Hokage in the future, I will treat you to ramen every day." "Okay, I'll treat you." Sarutobi Hiruzen grabbed his pipe tightly. After all, he just said that the Hokage has to bear the expectations and recognition of everyone. If he doesn't satisfy them at this time, it seems that there is no way to make them willing to continue to listen to the lesson of the will of fire. The first update. The chapter says that you can see it in the background. You can scold Danzo, but you can't scold me after scolding him. Chapter 34. There is no one around me, and I won't cry alone. 2 bowls of ramen. The third Hokage will treat you. Akihara Kagura pointed at the old man behind him, looking a little impolite. "I want 2 bowls of ramen too. It's also the Hokage's treat." Uzumaki Naruto pretended to be cool and imitated Akihara Kagura, pointing at Sarutobi Hiruzen who was following behind them, and was even more impolite than Akihara Kagura. Uzumaki Naruto, this little guy, didn't know what politeness was. 6-year-old children at this age like to imitate the people they meet. Even Uzumaki Naruto can do better than his teacher. Hand-beating uncle, aim sister. Uzumaki Naruto smiled happily, and said with a laugh, "If you have any wishes, you can find Grandpa Hokage. Just tell him your wish and he will help you realize it." Huh? The hand-beating boss tried to open his eyes in confusion. Really? Aim looked at the old man with some surprise. Ahem. Sarutobi Hiruzen coughed a few times and said helplessly, "Naruto, the existence of Hokage is not for everyone to make wishes casually." Oh. Uzumaki Naruto's face immediately became depressed. However, Uzumaki Naruto's mood soon became happy again. "Forget it, I'm very happy to eat ramen tonight." "Forget it." Sarutobi Hiruzen sighed and sat next to them, hand beating, "Help me get a bowl of ramen too, maybe I have to record a bill tonight." "Oh, okay." The hand-beating boss nodded honestly, and didn't care about the third-generation Hokage's credit behavior. During this period, the reputation of Konoha's Hokage was actually maintained quite well, and no one would think that the Hokage of the strongest ninja village would default on his debts. Hey, I suddenly remembered something. While waiting for the familiar face, Uzumaki Naruto turned his head curiously and looked at Akihara Kagura. "I don't think I've asked you what your name is yet." Akihara Kagura said her code name in the root, and then added, "But only Danzo-sama can call me by this name. You can call me Kagura, Akihara Kagura." "Why?" Uzumaki Naruto asked directly. "Because it was Danzo-sama who gave me a new life." Akihara Kagura looked calm, as if she was just stating the facts. "I used to be a child in the orphanage in the village. Someone sent me to a dark place. A man with long hair would cut me with a knife every day. I couldn't die. It was Danzo-sama who saved me." "Oh? Did Danzo save you?" Sarutobi Hiruzen's frown suddenly relaxed. Sarutobi Hiruzen was still thinking about the relationship between Akihara Kagura and Shimura Danzo, and suddenly heard Akihara Kagura's words, and immediately had some clues in his mind. "Yes, Danzo-sama saved me." Akihara Kagura reached out and took out a pair of chopsticks, slowly adjusting her emotions. "When I thought I was abandoned by everyone, when I was desperate for this world, Danzo-sama saved me, made me a ninja, and taught me to learn ninjutsu. He sounds like a good person." Uzumaki Naruto's favorability towards Shimura Danzo immediately increased a lot. Ahem. Sarutobi Hiruzen felt that he was choked by smoke. Shimura Danzo is a good person? This seems to be a bit insulting to the ears of this old man. The third Hokage thinks so, right? Akihara Kagura also smiled, and seemed to be happy about Uzumaki Naruto's praise. She reached out and stroked the little yellow-haired boy's hair. "When you become a ninja, I will let Danzo-sama transfer you to the root, and the two of us will go together to kill the other people in the root." Huh? Uzumaki Naruto's smile suddenly became stiff. Ahem. Sarutobi Hiruzen coughed violently. The Hokage suddenly felt that by transferring Akihara Kagura from the root to the Anbu, he was actually saving his old friend Danzo, so that the root would not become an empty shell in the future. This class was a bit of a failure, but there were also great gains. Sarutobi Hiruzen felt that he gradually figured out the truth about why Akihara Kagura was so loyal to Shimura Danzo. If he was not mistaken, the long-haired man who conducted human experiments on Akihara Kagura should be his defected disciple or Chimaru. As for Danzo rescuing people, only naive children would believe such a thing. The person who threw Akihara Kagura into the laboratory might be Danzo. In fact, Sarutobi Hiruzen knew the truth in his heart. Shimura Danzo had always supported Orochimaru in conducting human experiments in violation of regulations in the past. Find a suitable opportunity to let this child know the truth. At that time, will this child still be so loyal to Shimura Danzo? Sarutobi Hiruzen slowly picked up his pipe again. The only trouble he needed to think about was to make this child not hate Konoha's mistakes after knowing the truth. This kind of thing is not a problem for Sarutobi Hiruzen. As long as Akihara Kagura builds a bond with others, he can slowly learn to protect his friends in the future life. Kagura, don't always think about hurting others. The meaning of a ninja's existence is not to hurt others. Sarutobi Hiruzen held a pipe in his mouth and looked at Akihara Kagura seriously, intending to start his class again. Kagura, the meaning of a ninja's existence is to protect the people you want to protect. Have you ever wanted to protect someone? I have. Akihara Kagura nodded and continued indifferently. I wanted to protect the dean, Yakashi Nono, but she abandoned me, so I want to kill her now. Sarutobi Hiruzen's expression changed slightly. Sarutobi Hiruzen had heard of the name Yakashi Nono, who seemed to be a member of the village's intelligence department and had always provided a lot of information to the village. But isn't this get a little extreme? Now, I just want to protect Danzo-sama. Akihara Kagura extended her elbow to support her chin, thinking about what she wanted to say, but what Danzo-sama asked me to do for him should be just to help him kill the enemy or something like that. This Danzo. Uzumaki Naruto sat on the table and trembled. Don't talk about killing lightly. Sarutobi Hiruzen knocked on his pipe, and his expression became very serious. If a life wants to live to my age, it will take more than 60 years. However, if a life dies, it often only takes a few seconds. So Akihara Kagura was almost self-taught, and her eyes lit up. If you want to protect a person, you need to work hard to protect him for decades, but if you want to help him kill the enemy, it only takes a few seconds to do it. This seems to be simpler. Uzumaki Naruto felt something was wrong. Ahem, cough cough. Sarutobi Hiruzen waved his hands repeatedly and said, although that's what I said, an excellent ninja often has to do things that ordinary people can't do. Akihara Kagura fell silent. However, after just a moment, Akihara Kagura suddenly said, Danzo said that I can use wood release ninjutsu, which no one else can do. I am already good enough. That's not what I'm talking about. Sarutobi Hiruzen couldn't help but grit his teeth. Shimura Danzo, that bastard, clearly led this child astray. Hey, what about you? Akihara Kagura looked at Uzumaki Naruto. Are you an excellent ninja? Can you do what others can't do? Yes. Uzumaki Naruto raised his face, sniffed, and answered proudly with a flushed face. Other kids can cry in their parents' arms, but I don't have parents, and I don't have anyone around me, so I won't cry even if I'm alone. You are also an excellent ninja. Akihara Kagura praised sincerely. Sarutobi Hiruzen's face gradually became a little heavy. The old man knocked out the tobacco leaves with force, put away his pipe, looked at the ramen brought by the hand-beating boss and finally decided to give up this class completely. Eat noodles. Go back and rest after you finish eating noodles. Children must go to bed early and not stay up late. Second update. I just finished watching the 700th episode. The number of words is gradually increasing. The chapter seems to have recovered. You can continue to scold Danzo, and don't scold me after you're done. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 35. The mysterious masked man appears. Thank you for the treat. The 10-year-old Akihara Kagura nodded in thanks. Perhaps because she was grateful for the treat, or perhaps because Sarutobi Hiruzen had let them finish their ramen in peace, Akihara Kagura was very polite. Thank you for the treat. The 6-year-old Uzumaki Naruto still behaved very synchronously. If you ignore the hair color of the two little guys, it even feels like the synchronized movements of the two little guys are a bit like an older brother leading a younger brother. Go home and rest early. Sarutobi Hiruzen picked up his pipe again. This encounter was not without gain. Sarutobi Hiruzen thought he had understood Akihara Kagura and was not so obsessed with guiding him. He even felt that this kid's personality was not that bad from the way Akihara Kagura treated Uzumaki Naruto tonight. I'm leaving. Bye. Uzumaki Naruto patted his bulging belly very happily, waved goodbye to Akihara Kagura and Sarutobi Hiruzen, and walked back in the direction of his residence. You can't tell at all. Akihara Kagura stared at Uzumaki Naruto, who was walking away. Oh. Sarutobi Hiruzen, holding a pipe in his mouth, looked back at Akihara Kagura, who was standing there, and asked, Kagura, what do you want to see from this little guy Naruto? I can't see that he is sad at all. Akihara Kagura's eyes became a little dark, and he whispered, if someone abandons me, I will be so sad that I want to kill someone. Sarutobi Hiruzen felt a little bad. I'm leaving. Akihara Kagura said no more and walked towards the root organization's base. This brat. Sarutobi Hiruzen shook his head helplessly. The old man who has held the power of Konoha for decades walked towards the direction of the Hokage building step by step, and his voice suddenly became a little deep and cold. Kakashi, Tenzo. As the voice fell, Hatake Kakashi and Tenzo appeared beside him instantly. Originally, the two of them were on vacation this morning, but when they were still resting at night, they were suddenly ordered to serve as the guards of the Hokage. What do you think of Akihara Kagura? Sarutobi Hiruzen's eyes were fixed on the Hokage building. He didn't even look at his two subordinates. He just continued to speak to himself. After the Chunin exams, that little guy will enter the Anbu. I will assign him to your team. Hatake Kakashi couldn't help but glance at Sarutobi Hiruzen. The third Hokage didn't look back, and his steps were very firm. It didn't look like he wanted to discuss with anyone. This was an order from the Hokage. Yes. Hatake Kakashi lowered his head quickly. As for Tenzo next to him, he never had much say in such occasions. Sarutobi Hiruzen suddenly stopped and continued seriously, by the way, don't underestimate that little guy. He has a strong talent for wood release. From what we can see now, he has been able to exert a very strong combat ability. Yes. Hatake Kakashi and Tenzo looked at each other. Sarutobi Hiruzen mentioned Akihara Kagura's shortcomings again, but that little guy's basic ninja education is not up to standard. His temperament is a bit too extreme. He can't be taught by the leading jonin in the village. You and Tenzo can only teach him more in the future. This. Hatake Kakashi suddenly felt a little troubled. Because when he first met Akihara Kagura, he felt that the little guy was not a normal child. He would kill for Shimura Danzo at any time. However, whether it was the time he saw him at Ichiriko Ramen this morning, or when he heard that the little kid pretended to be him to deceive the examinees and almost caused a major accident, Hatake Kakashi felt that the child's personality must be worse than he imagined. But the Anbu must obey the orders from the Hokage. Yes. Hatake Kakashi could only seriously agree, and then proposed, since Akihara Kagura has the wood release bloodline, he should be assigned to Tenzo's class. Tenzo looked at Hatake Kakashi in disbelief. Tenzo is an honest man who believes that Hatake Kakashi is a reliable senior. At this moment, Tenzo suddenly heard that Hatake Kakashi would give him a big trouble, and his mental activities finally became active. Hey, what are you kidding, Kakashi-senpai? You obviously know how awkward the relationship between me and Akihara Kagura is. That little guy yells at me to kill him every day. Why do you put him in my class? You must know what kind of torture I will suffer. Okay. Sarutobi Hiruzen approved Hatake Kakashi's proposal. After explaining his orders, the Hokage waved his hand at them and said, okay, you guys retreat first, I'll go by myself. Yes. The two figures disappeared behind Sarutobi Hiruzen in an instant. In the alley on the street. After leaving the Hokage, Tenzo finally couldn't hold back and said anxiously, hey, senior, put me and that little guy Kagura together. I believe you can do it. Hatake Kakashi reached out and patted Tenzo's shoulder, and continued, Tenzo, I always thought that you would become a reliable senior. But Tenzo. Hatake Kakashi interrupted him and whispered, that child has the same wood-style bloodline as you. Perhaps this is also a fateful encounter. I hope you can make him a person who silently guards Konoha in the dark like you. Okay, Tenzo could only scratch his head helplessly and put forward his own plan. I will teach him to slowly develop wood-style bloodline ninjutsu first. If I encounter any problems, I will ask the senior again. Okay. Hatake Kakashi agreed and reached into his pocket. Since today's escort mission is over, go back and rest early. Yes. Tenzo scratched his head in distress and walked towards the direction of home. Hatake Kakashi lowered his head and leaned against the wall. The brain of Kakashi, a famous cold-blooded man in the ninja world, gradually began to empty. Most of the time, he himself did not even know what he was thinking. It seemed that Hatake Kakashi's fate was destined to be lonely. When he was a child, his father suddenly committed suicide, leaving him an orphan while he was in school. When he grew up, his close teammates died in the war one after another. Later, the teacher and his wife both died in the Nine Tails Rebellion, which made Hatake Kakashi feel that he was oppressed by fate and could not breathe. Hatake Kakashi felt that his future life would be muddled. He would stay in the Anbu to carry out endless tasks, and there would never be anything worth being happy about. After a long time, Hatake Kakashi got up and left the alley. After Hatake Kakashi left, a mysterious masked man in a black robe quietly appeared, looked at the direction he left and snorted coldly. HMPH, this loser Hahoye pitcher plant monster with a black and white body slowly emerged from the ground, with half of its white face playfully saying to the mysterious masked man, "It seems there is no need to pay attention to Hatake Kakashi now, right? Shouldn't we pay more attention to the wood release brat that appeared again in Konoha? Maybe that brat can become a helper in the Moon Eye project." First update. Chapter 36. What did that bastard say to you? Wood release Kakai may not be of any use to the Moon Eye project. The mysterious masked man seemed to dislike the power of wood release, and said coldly, "I have also awakened the wood release Kakai, and I don't think wood release can be stronger than the main Gekyo Sharingan. That must be because your wood release is too weak." The pitcher plant monsters knew this very well, but they didn't intend to argue with the mysterious masked man. They knew that the mysterious masked man's main Gekyo Sharingan was indeed stronger than his wood release. Okay. There seemed to be two wills in the pitcher plant monster. The black half of the pitcher plant monster's head moved its mouth slightly, and it spoke in a hoarse and gloomy voice, "We happen to be in Konoha? Observe the talent of that wood release kid. The Moon Eye project requires a lot of powerful helpers, and one more person is always useful. Besides, I just went to Konoha's death forest to observe. Although I didn't see that kid use wood release, the forest still retains rich life energy, proving that the kid's wood release is not useless. Okay. If that kid is really useful, a kid covered in darkness and flaws will be easy for me to deal with." The mysterious masked man didn't even look at the pitcher plant monster beside him. He raised his palm nonchalantly and clenched it into a fist. "I have a chess piece in my hand that can deal with him. As long as I use a little bit of tricks, I can make him deserted by his friends and have nowhere to go." Oh. The pitcher plant monster became curious. "Some time ago, someone sneaked into the hidden mist village and I discovered it. It was Ryoma Obirame, a subordinate of Shimura Danzo. I caught him myself." The mysterious masked man talked about the plan he wanted to implement, and his tone couldn't help but be a little proud. "As long as I use the wood release ninjutsu to kill Ryoma Obirame, and then throw the body to the people of Konoha, I can put the blame on that brat to kill Kagura. In theory, this plan is a bit simple. If it is actually implemented, it is very likely to achieve the goal, because not many people in the ninja world have wood release bloodline. The rest of the time, we just have to continue observing that brat." The mysterious masked man finally nodded and snorted, "I just happened to observe how the seed I left behind 2 years ago is growing." Uchiha Itachi. The white half of the face on the pitcher plant monster's head suddenly revealed a strange smile. "You killed Uchiha Itachi's teammates with your own hands, allowing that little guy to awaken the Sharingan. He was able to awaken the double Magatama Sharingan for the first time. His talent is not bad. So I spared his life?" The mysterious masked man nodded, and he looked like he had mastered the matter when he spoke. "The little guy Uchiha Itachi has the possibility of awakening the main Gekyo Sharingan. As long as he is given a little stimulation, his Sharingan can be further improved." Hey, what a coincidence. The white half of the pitcher plant monster's face seemed to have thought of something, and suddenly became excited. "It just so happens that Konoha is holding the Chunin exam, and Uchiha Itachi and Akihara Kagura are both participating. According to the previous rules of Konoha's Chunin exam, during the third Chunin exam, Akihara Kagura and Uchiha Itachi may fight on the field. Let's just observe the wood release brat and the Uchiha brat to see who is more powerful. Is it the Chunin exam again?" The mysterious masked man's voice became a little low. Chunin exam. A topic that ninjas will never avoid. In the base of the root organization, Shimura Danzo was also talking about the Chunin exam, but when the old man mentioned the Chunin exam, his face was so gloomy that it seemed like water was dripping. Shimura Danzo was scolding Akihara Kagura, who had just returned to the base. "You acted too much during the Chunin exam. Don't expose your wood release bloodline casually, and there is no need to waste chakra to use powerful techniques." "I know. Akihara Kagura frowned and said, I won't use wood release ninjutsu in the third exam, right? Shimura Danzo was so angry that he almost vomited blood. Use it when you shouldn't. Why not use it when it's time to use it? Now that you've used wood release ninjutsu, what's the point of hiding it? Forget it. Shimura Danzo waved his hand, somewhat helplessly saying, since everyone already knows, there's no need to hide it anymore. Oh. Akihara Kagura nodded indifferently. Take the third exam seriously. Shimura Danzo looked at the boy's indifference and said in a deep voice, you and Uchiha Itachi are the best candidates of this year. You will definitely meet in the last round. Don't be careless when facing that brat. Use wood release ninjutsu to defeat him. Because this exam has its own political significance. Once Akihara Kagura uses wood release ninjutsu to defeat Uchiha Itachi, the genius of the Uchiha clan will be a little more sensible when facing the village's orders. I understand. Akihara Kagura nodded in agreement. There is one more thing. After Danzo, Shimura and Kagura Akihara finished chatting about the Chunin exam, they finally talked about the topic that bothered them the most. After the Chunin exam, you will be transferred to the Anbu. Why? Kagura Akihara asked curiously, aren't we in the Ruta part of the Anbu? Why are you being transferred to the Anbu? We are being transferred to the Anbu directly under the Hokage. Danzo Shimura coldly pointed out the difference and continued, just as the Ruta is loyal to me, the members of the Anbu are loyal to the monkey. Wait? Kagura Akihara's expression suddenly changed, and she looked up at Danzo in disbelief. Danzo-sama, why did you suddenly transfer me to the Anbu? Don't you want me to continue in the route and don't want me to stay with you? Kagura Akihara seemed to be completely unaware of what she had done. She tried to show a hint of shock in her eyes, and even a hint of anger. Has anyone reported me to Danzo-sama? I've only been away from the base for 1 day. When Akihara Kagura said this, he tried to squeeze out 2 tears of grievance, but he couldn't squeeze them out no matter how hard he tried. He could only continue sadly, if it's because of that group of guys, I can promise you that I won't be with that group of guys in the future. It's not your problem. Shimura Danzo interrupted him impatiently. Although it is indeed the problem of this kid, isn't it because you, this kid, acted too much during the exam? But this kid's attitude is so pitiful, and he still holds loyalty to himself. However, he is not without a way. This child will also become a chess piece he has planted in the Anbu. Hey, don't be sad. Shimura Danzo suddenly slowly stretched out his hand, stroked Akihara Kagura's shoulder, and asked casually, after entering the Anbu, will you still obey my orders? Of course. Akihara Kagura nodded quickly. Once the boss asks this kind of a question casually, you need to be firm in your attitude. In addition to answering quickly, you must also show your determination. But this is not enough. The best way, of course, is to say some bad things about the boss's mortal enemy. Akihara Kagura frowned and said curiously, by the way, I met the Sandame Hokage tonight inexplicably, and he kept talking to me about Danzo-sama. Shimura Danzo's expression immediately became ugly, and he said in a cold voice, what did that stupid Sandame say to you? Second update. As long as we curse Danzo together, we are good friends. Please read and collect. The list has started to fall again. Chapter 37. Don't forget, it was me who brought you into Konoha. Danzo Shimura was very angry. People always hate others gossiping about them behind their backs. Even Danzo Shimura was no exception, especially when the guy who gossiped about him happened to be Sarutobi Hiruzen, whom Danzo Shimura hated the most in his life. Hearing Sarutobi Hiruzen mentioning himself to Akihara Kagura, he didn't even bother to continue brainwashing Akihara Kagura. He just wanted to know what the old guy said. The third Hokage didn't say anything. Akihara Kagura seemed a little frightened by Shimura Danzo's eyes, and hurriedly covered it up with clumsy words to prevent her boss from being too angry. Hey, tell me the whole story. Danzo Shimura saw through Akihara Kagura's thoughts at a glance, and said in a deep voice, don't hide what happened tonight. Monkey has always been hypocritical, and you will be deceived by him if you are not careful. Yes. Akihara Kagura nodded slowly. After I passed the second round of the Chunin exam, it was already late. On my way back, I met the Sandame Hokage and a kid named Uzumaki Naruto. The Sandame Hokage wanted me to go fishing with him, but I was worried that Danzo would be angry, so I just wanted to get back to the base as soon as possible. But the Sandame Hokage didn't allow me to come back, and told me that in the village, even Danzo must obey his orders. When Akihara Kagura said this, she seemed a little sad and uneasy. I'm worried that if I disobey the Sandame's orders, I might get Danzo into trouble. Humph, Shimura Danzo snorted coldly when he heard this, and said coldly, don't worry about getting into trouble for me in the future. No one in the ninja world can cause trouble for me. Yes. Akihara Kagura agreed quickly. Regardless of whether the boss is bragging or not, as long as the boss makes a promise, it is best to write it down first, so as not to let the subordinate take the blame when something goes wrong in the future. By the way, Akihara Kagura keenly sensed the signs that her boss was about to lose his temper, so she had to temporarily reverse the order and say something that her boss liked to hear. The Sandame Hokage also said that he and Lord Danzo are old friends. The Sandame Hokage seemed to have mentioned some things in the past, and seemed to have said something about Hokage, but I didn't quite understand. Akihara Kagura rubbed her brows and casually blamed others when she recalled, because that kid Uzumaki Naruto kept clamoring to become Hokage. I didn't hear it accurately at the time, I don't know if I remember it wrong. Just tell me. Danzo Shimura had no doubt that Akihara Kagura would lie. Uzumaki Naruto, the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki brat, was indeed indoctrinated with the idea of Hokage by Sarutobi Hiruzen since he was a child, and he always clamored to become Hokage or something like that. Many people knew about this. The Sandame Hokage said, the Hokage is not a position to be fought for, but one that carries the expectations and recognition of the entire village, and the responsibility to protect the village. Even when the Sandame Hokage talked about this, he also mentioned that Lord Danzo once wanted to compete with him to become Hokage, but the Hokage needed to take on the responsibilities of many people. Lord Danzo believed that he did not have the responsibility to become Hokage, and later gave up the idea of becoming Hokage. Danzo Shimura's face suddenly drooped. It's okay that Sarutobi Hiruzen, that old bastard, likes to instill the idea of the will of fire into those little kids in the village, but this time he actually took the opportunity to criticize him. Who said that I don't have the responsibility to become Hokage? As long as I can become the Hokage, I can also take on the responsibility of Konoha, and I can do better than that old bastard monkey. I was a little angry, so I argued with him. Akihara Kagura glanced at Shimura Danzo carefully, and continued, I told them that Konoha can be without anyone, but it must not be without Danzo-sama. Only Danzo-sama can become the next generation Hokage of Konoha. Yes. Shimura Danzo nodded slightly. This was the most satisfying moment for Shimura Danzo tonight. These were the words that Shimura Danzo had always wanted to say, but he didn't dare to say them to anyone in person. Go on. Shimura Danzo wanted to hear more. I remember after I finished speaking. Akihara Kagura's expression was a little strange, and he continued, the Sandame Hokage's face seemed a little scary, but he soon smiled again. Huh? Still so hypocritical. Danzo Shimura immediately criticized his old friend. Sarutobi, this bastard, was so unhappy when he heard Akihara Kagura mention that he would be the next Hokage. He never thought of letting me take the position of Hokage. What else did you talk about? Danzo Shimura glanced at Akihara Kagura, who paused for a while, and continued, didn't Monkey talk about anything else? For example, did he mention who in the village could take on the responsibility of Hokage? Akihara Kagura felt that Danzo Shimura wanted to know a little too much. Sometimes, the boss will be curious about some things, and these curiosities may cause trouble for the subordinates, so they must find a way to stop them in time. And the more they talk, the easier it is to reveal flaws. The most important thing is that what we have to do today is not to sow discord, but to remind the boss that he still holds a fatal handle on himself. Akihara Kagura wanted to tell Danzo Shimura that as long as he had this handle, he would not need to doubt that he would betray him after entering the Anbu. The Sandame didn't mention those things. And it's a little strange, Akihara Kagura frowned, looking a little confused. It was a little chaotic tonight. It might be because that kid Uzumaki Naruto was making a noise nearby. I don't know why I mentioned the secret of my life experience to the third Hokage. What? Shimura Danzo's face immediately became a little nervous. I was still wondering why he suddenly saw you. The old man finally couldn't sit still anymore, and cursed in a cold voice, that bastard monkey actually used the means of inducing a confession on you, trying to find out your origins. If he knew, I only said that I was born in an orphanage. Akihara Kagura immediately comforted her boss and took control of the rhythm of the conversation again. The third Hokage already knew that I was a child from an orphanage, and I was kidnapped for would-release human experiments. That's good. Danzo Shimura nodded slowly. His expression became relaxed. He looked at Akihara Kagura quietly, and finally remembered something important. There is no way this kid could betray him. Because this kid is not a child of Konoha orphanage at all, but an experiment of Orochimaru, and he holds the lifeline that can threaten his life at any time. Go and have a rest. Danzo Shimura waved at Akihara Kagura. His attitude became cold, and he even returned to the condescending look when they first met. I believe you will not let me down in the Anbu. Don't forget one thing, it was me who brought you to Konoha. The first update, please read and collect. Chapter 38 Uchiha Itachi, your family is very. Akihara Kagura achieved his goal. Shimura Danzo did not doubt that Akihara Kagura betrayed him, but his sudden condescending attitude inevitably made people dissatisfied. The honeymoon period of friendly coexistence during this period seemed fake. Akihara Kagura felt that there was something wrong with the attitude of his boss Shimura Danzo. Once he realized that he had always had the leverage over someone, he would act like he could kill them at any time. How could he still make people loyal to him? Shimura Danzo did not think that there was anything wrong with his attitude. The old man had used this method to control his subordinates for many years, and nothing had ever happened, so he would not think there was anything wrong. Aren't ninjas just tools to be used? As long as the tool can be used, who cares about the method of use? Akihara Kagura looked back at Shimura Danzo and felt that the two of them seemed to never be able to go back to the past, and he had finally become a tool of this boss. What are you still looking at? Shimura Danzo glanced at Akihara Kagura coldly and said in a cold voice, don't call yourself Jia in the future. From today on, you are not allowed to use the code name of the route. Yes, Danzo. Akihara Kagura slowly lowered her head and left the office. Although Akihara Kagura didn't like the code name Jia from the beginning, there is still a difference between not wanting to use it and being deprived of it. If Danzo's future life is too peaceful, then I, as a subordinate, will be too derelict in my duty. In the next few days, Shimura Danzo ignored Akihara Kagura and cancelled Akihara Kagura's special ninjutsu training ground. He didn't care about Akihara Kagura's feelings at all. He seemed to have returned to the right path and completely treated Akihara Kagura as an ordinary tool. The third round of the Chunin exam came as scheduled. As the most convenient one to show the battle between Jinan, the exam was held in a circular training ground. The audience could stay in the audience seats above the training ground to watch the final exam. This was also a grand event that the villagers could rarely watch. The family members of the candidates who finally participated in the third exam came to see how their relatives performed. Before entering the venue, the candidates chatted with their family and friends. The most eye-catching were two people. One of them was Uchiha Itachi. Uchiha Itachi's father was Uchiha Fugaku, the captain of the Konoha police force, and he was the one with the highest status and strength among all the candidates' families. His father Uchiha Fugaku, his mother Uchiha Mikado, his younger brother Uchiha Sasuke, his good friends Uchiha Shisu and Uchiha Izumi, and some Uchiha clan members who came to join in the fun, all came to the examination room of the third exam to cheer for the genius boy of their clan. Nissen. Uchiha Sasuke hugged his brother's arm and pouted his lips and said, hurry up and pass the exam, and then accompany me to practice shuriken. Okay. Uchiha Itachi patted his brother's head and smiled very gently. Sasuke, don't disturb your brother. Uchiha Fugaku glanced at his youngest son, looked around at the candidates, and his eyes fell on a lonely figure. That little guy, is he the wood-released ninja you mentioned at home, Akihara Kagura? Yes, Dad. Uchiha Itachi recalled what happened in the Forest of Death, and his face became solemn. Akihara Kagura's wood release is very strong. I have never seen such an amazing technique. The kind of wood dragon that is like a living thing. Uchiha Fugaku pondered for a while, lowered his voice and said, the Uchiha clan is not without counter-attack techniques, but unfortunately your Sharingan level is not high enough. That child Uchiha Mikado glanced at Akihara Kagura in the distance, frowned slightly and said, don't you have relatives and friends? He is Danzo's subordinate. Uchiha Fugaku had already learned some information about Akihara Kagura from his son, and said coldly, Danzo's subordinates are only good at killing and executing tasks. They must have been trained since childhood, so naturally they don't have any relatives. Because of his identity, Uchiha Fugaku had to show superficial respect to Danzo, but he knew in his heart that Shimura Danzo had always been full of hostility towards the Uchiha clan. It was not a good thing for their clan to have such a powerful wood-release ninja among Shimura Danzo's subordinates. Obviously, this was used to deal with them. Everyone knows that wood release had defeated the Uchiha. Itachi, defeat him. Uchiha Fugaku put his hand on his son's shoulder. Uchiha Itachi nodded calmly, which was not in line with his age. The third exam gave them a few days of rest time. Uchiha Itachi had long known that Akihara Kagura was a powerful wood-release ninja, so he naturally would not waste this time in vain, and specially asked his friend Uchiha Shisa to help him train and practice. Nissan will definitely win. Uchiha Sasuke held his brother's arm and refused to let go, shouting proudly, "No matter who it is, no one can be Nissan's opponent." Uchiha Sasuke's voice was a little loud, which inevitably attracted the attention of other contestants. Many people looked over here. All candidates enter. The examiner of the third exam has arrived. The examiner of the third exam is called Shiranujinma. This examiner likes to hold 1,000 books in his mouth as a toothpick, looking cynical. A group of candidates said goodbye to their relatives and friends and strode into the examination room. However, when they saw Uchiha Itachi and Akihara Kagura, they slowed down a few steps and fell behind. "That would escape kid is too strong. Even if we advance, we can't be his opponent at all. It doesn't matter. The teacher told us that we don't have to consider winning or losing. The examiners will not calculate the results based on winning or losing, but will judge whether we are qualified to be promoted to Chunin based on our performance in the battle. As long as we show our strength, it will be fine. It seems that we still have hope." The front of the team. Akihara Kagura and Uchiha Itachi walked side by side. Uchiha Itachi glanced at Akihara Kagura next to him and suddenly said, "Sorry, I must win this time. I have reasons why I can't lose." "It doesn't matter." Akihara Kagura was quite casual, as if she didn't care about winning or losing this exam. Instead, she mentioned the people outside the venue, "Because your brother believes you can win." "Yes." Uchiha Itachi nodded and said in a deep voice, "I don't want to disappoint my father, let alone Sasuke. I must help him realize what he said. You seem to have a good relationship with your family." Akihara Kagura praised slowly inside, looking at it now, "It's really a happy family." "Thank you." Uchiha Itachi's attitude immediately became gentle. Second update. Chapter 39, Fateful Reincarnation, Encounter of Wood Release and Sharingan. Please confirm your opponents. Shiranujinma held a list for all candidates to see. There were a total of 8 teams in the third round. Except for Uchiha Itachi and Akihara Kagura, all other teams were fully staffed with 3 people. The entire competition was divided into 3 rounds, 8-4, 4-2, and 2-1. It was very uncoincidental that Akihara Kagura and Uchiha Itachi were assigned to 2 half areas, which means that if these 2 candidates who participated in the Chunin exam alone wanted to meet, they had to pass the first 2 rounds and defeat 2 3-person teams single-handedly. It's over. We will meet the brat in the first round. Don't panic, our time these few days has not been wasted in vain. Everyone has learned new ninjutsu, and there may be a chance to turn defeat into victory. The team that met Akihara Kagura in the first round immediately became lively. All the teams present had seen Akihara Kagura's performance in the Death Forest, and each team thought that the possibility of them defeating Akihara Kagura was very low. "We are the ones who will meet the brat in the second round, damn it. We are the ones who will meet the brat in the second round." The 2 teams that might meet Akihara Kagura in the second round became lively. "How about you all come together?" Akihara Kagura couldn't help but reply. In such a small matter, Akihara Kagura is still very helpful. "Hey, examiner. Can their 3 teams go on stage together? Other teams that want to fight with me can also go on stage together." The faces of the candidates present were a little ugly. No. Shiranujinma quickly rejected this proposal. As the examiner of this exam, Shiranujinma had already learned some important matters from his friends Bingzuli Twang and Yamashiro Aoba. There is a brat named Akihara Kagura who is a big trouble in the Chunin exam, and he must be especially careful. The focus of this exam is not on winning or losing. Shiranujinma glanced at the people present and explained the significance of the third exam again. Even the winner may not be promoted, and even the loser may be promoted successfully. The purpose of the test is to examine the tactics of your team. Understood. The minds of a group of candidates slowly settled down. The first exam happened to be the competition of Akihara Kagura. When the chief examiner just announced the exam, the 3 ninjas of the opponent quickly threw out shurikens, trying to stop Akihara Kagura from making hand seals. "Just stop this kid from making hand seals, wood release, tree world advent." Akihara Kagura had already closed her fingers. Tree roots drilled out from the ground and quickly grew into 3 giant trees. The 3 giant trees quickly stretched out countless vines and branches to chase the 3 ninjas of the opponent, and quickly tied all the enemies to the trunks. Why? Such a powerful ninjutsu, you only need to make a hand seal. There is no time to stop it, unless you directly remove his ninjutsu. The three opponents looked at Akihara Kagura, who had not moved a step weakly, with frustration on their faces, unable to understand why the opponent's ninjutsu is so simple. The winner is Akihara Kagura. Shirinu Genma frowned and announced the winner. The entire audience was in an uproar. No one had ever seen a ninjutsu that was so simple but so powerful, especially those ninjas who had created ninjutsu. The more profound their feelings were. Are all would release ninjutsu like this? Yamashiro Aoba in the audience looked at Akihara Kagura in the audience, a little dumbfounded. You only need to make a hand seal to release a technique of this level. In fact, the power of the technique can be even greater. Madara Shianko stood next to Yamashiro Aoba and continued nonchalantly. When I first saw it, I was also scared by that kids would release these Jinan candidates. Bingzuli Tang glanced at the other candidates and continued slowly. There should be no one who can be his opponent if this ninjutsu does not consume much chakra. Tenzo, Hatake Kakashi looked at Tenzo, who was standing next to him, and asked, I remember you also have a similar technique. It seems that the range of the technique is larger than this one. No, it's not like that. A drop of cold sweat broke out on Tenzo's forehead. He shook his head and said, that technique is the wood style, sea of trees, that I simplified from the wood style, tree world, of the first Hokage. It is far inferior in terms of the steps of forming seals and its power. Because I cannot learn the tree world, I have to reduce the power of the technique. In theory, he has successfully learned this technique, and it is even stronger than my technique, because wood style uses chakra to activate life energy. I can sense the life energy in the field, which is much more concentrated than my wood style. Shimura Danzo also taught this technique to Tenzo. Unfortunately, Tenzo did not learn it. He just restored the effect of the tree world by developing the wood style bloodline in his body according to his own understanding. Tenzo looked back at Hatake Kakashi, his face a little pale. Senior Kakashi, this child's wood style talent is actually much stronger than mine. Do you want to consider it? Come on, you can do it. Hatake Kakashi patted Tenzo's shoulder calmly. Not only the people in the audience were in an uproar, but the examinees in the venue also looked grim. After all, a powerful ninjutsu that can be cast with a hand seal can be regarded as a dimensionality reduction attack for these Jinan examinees. After the first round, there were still 4 teams left in the field. However, the next team that had to face Akihara Kagura had lost confidence. The reason why this team stayed was not because of how well they performed, but because their opponent in the previous round performed worse. Maybe this technique consumes a lot of chakra. But in the Death Forest, this kid didn't show that he didn't have enough chakra. He even had another technique that could summon a wood dragon. Don't be discouraged. Jinan looked at his 2 teammates with some frustration and tried his best to persuade them. Although we will definitely lose this game, maybe our performance in the last battle can help us advance. The second round, 4-2. The second round opponent that Akihara Kagura encountered was exactly the same as the opponent in the previous round. They were easily hung on the tree. Compared to the match that ended quickly in Akihara Kagura, the fight between Uchiha Itachi and another team was much more interesting, and it aroused cheers from the crowd. Although the fight between Uchiha Itachi and the opponent also ended in a crushing manner, he eliminated the 3 opponents of the other team by using physical skills, ninjutsu and jinjutsu. Even the third Hokage, who had been sitting on the main audience stand, praised Uchiha Itachi for his beautiful fight. The third round, 2-1. The whole arena became quiet. No one expected that this would happen in the Chunin exam. 2 candidates who took the Chunin exam alone turned out to be the final opponents. Moreover, the 2 little guys were exactly the same age. Both of them possessed the top blood limit in the ninja world. Someone in the audience sighed, which actually attracted the approval of many people. Hashirama Senju, the first Hokage who once possessed the power of wood release, and Madara Uchiha, the ninja Shura who once possessed the Sharingan. These 2 little guys standing here actually make people feel a bit like the 2 people in historical legends, just like the reincarnation of fate. There seemed to be many people in the audience who were dissatisfied with the Uchiha clan, and some even talked about history. Perhaps their results should be the same as in history. Uchiha Itachi is unlikely to be a match for wood release. Impossible. Nissan will definitely win. Uchiha Sasuke, who was sitting next to his mother, shouted in dissatisfaction, and the little brat was noisy. That guy will definitely not be a match for Nissan. First update. Fateful encounter. Chapter 40 Akihara Kagura, I am always abandoned. Little Sasuke was noisy. Because he was brought up by his brother and taught by him to practice, even after seeing the horror of wood release, little Sasuke didn't want to believe that his brother would lose. People in the audience looked at the noisy kid. Uchiha Fugaku glared at his little son, and then little Sasuke quickly calmed down. Before the third round of the game officially began, Akihara Kagura stood on the stage, glanced at the lively audience, and then looked at Uchiha Itachi standing opposite. Your brother seems to have enough confidence in you. This is why I can't lose. Uchiha Itachi looked at Akihara Kagura, his eyes looked very serious. If there is another person in the world who can make Uchiha Itachi give up everything, it must be his younger brother Uchiha Sasuke. He doesn't want to disappoint his younger brother. Although he knows very little about wood release, especially after seeing Akihara Kagura's wood dragon technique raging in the Death Forest, Uchiha Itachi knows very well that this battle is destined to be difficult, and he must do his best in this battle. Because his younger brother is watching all this in the audience. Really? What a coincidence. I also have reasons why I can't lose. Akihara Kagura looked at Uchiha Itachi, and the smile on her face became more and more intense. If I lose to you, Lord Danzo will definitely abandon me completely. What do you mean? Uchiha Itachi frowned. You won't understand. You are very popular in the sun. And I have always been abandoned in the dark once. I was adopted by an orphanage. I thought I had found a home, but I was caught and thrown into a dark laboratory, and the director completely forgot about me. Later, Lord Danzo adopted me. In order to stay by his side, I had to do everything he told me to do, but he still chose to abandon me. Akihara Kagura's smile gradually became a little sad, which made people feel a little bit reluctant to listen to it. Obviously I have done well enough, and obviously I have not done anything wrong. This Uchiha Itachi didn't quite understand. Because of you, Akihara Kagura spread out her hands, and a hint of cruelty gradually appeared in her eyes. It was not until now that I figured out one thing. Lord Danzo has always wanted me to defeat you because when I was in the Forest of Death, I defeated everyone, and only you escaped my hunting, so he sent me to the ambush. Sorry. Uchiha Itachi couldn't help frowning, but still said, I didn't know. Even if I knew this, I had to do my best to pass that exam. It doesn't matter. Akihara Kagura shook her head slowly, as if she didn't care about the past at all, but her smile became uglier and uglier. Anyway, I can correct my past mistakes now. As long as I can change my mistakes, as long as I can defeat everything you have in this exam, Lord Danzo will definitely take me back again. Uchiha Itachi was silent, not knowing how to answer. Should he tell the truth that people like Shimura Danzo are not worth following? I'm afraid it will only make the opponent in front of him even more furious. Hey. Shiranyu Genjian's face looked a little ugly. He bit his senbon and continued, you two little brats, pay attention to the rules of the game. If you kill your opponent, you will not be judged to have passed this exam. It doesn't matter. Akihara Kagura shook her head and continued nonchalantly, this Chunin exam is meaningless to me. If Uchiha Itachi dies here, it can only prove that his life was too short. Maybe his death will make other people's lives go further. Shiranyu Genjian's forehead hurt a little. Obviously, this little brat was fine in the previous 2 rounds of the game. Why did he suddenly cause trouble at this time, and acted like he wanted to kill someone? In the audience, many ninjas can also read lips. Many people present knew clearly that the last game might be a life and death battle, which inevitably gave rise to a trace of worry in the hearts of some people. The 3rd generation Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen was undoubtedly one of them. Sarutobi Hiruzen understood Akihara Kagura's lip language, and secretly hated Shimura Danzo for being too despicable. Even if you handed this child over to the Anbu, he would still cause trouble. Akihara Kagura, a child with an extreme heart, became even darker because of an abandonment, making it even more difficult to correct this child's mentality. Shisu, the 10-year-old girl Uchiha Izumi, sat next to Uchiha Shisu and said with a worried look on her face, Itachi-kun will definitely win, right? Itachi is the best. Uchiha Shisu nodded slowly. This was just Uchiha Shisu's words to comfort Uchiha Izumi. As an excellent ninja, Uchiha Shisu could see that there was a gap between Akihara Kagura and Uchiha Itachi, and it was difficult for Uchiha Itachi to defeat him now. Uchiha Shisu knew more than Uchiha Izumi. He knew from Uchiha Itachi's mouth that the other party had a more terrifying wooden dragon. If Akihara Kagura really wanted to kill Uchiha Itachi, it would be very likely that Uchiha Itachi's life would be in danger. The game begins. Shiranyu Genma's voice resounded throughout the venue. When the sound of the game started appeared, The two little ghosts in the venue moved almost at the same time. Uchiha Itachi threw out 4 shurikens and disappeared instantly. Wood release, tree world advent. Akihara Kagura instantly raised his finger. A tree root quickly drilled out, blocking Akihara Kagura in front of him, and also blocking Uchiha Itachi's shuriken. Tree roots drilled out from the ground. Giant trees grew out in the venue with a spread of tree roots, and in a blink of an eye they covered the entire venue, turning the entire examination stage into an ancient forest. Uchiha Itachi had seen Akihara Kagura controlling giant trees to attack the enemy, and he knew very well that these giant trees were all under the control of Akihara Kagura's chakra. He didn't dare to stay anywhere at all, and could only avoid the sudden attack of tree roots and vines in the forest. There is no geographical advantage. Uchiha Itachi leaped in the forest, his eyes instantly turned scarlet, and with the help of the Sharingan, he observed the attack trajectory of all the tree roots and vines in his field of vision, looking for a foothold where he could jump briefly. The next moment, Uchiha Itachi's face suddenly changed. Because the branches and vines of all the giant trees in the forest were converging upwards. The huge chakra reaction almost made people breathless. Everyone in the entire examination room knew that a dangerous technique was about to appear here. Although a tree world birth can defeat you, it may be a little troublesome. Akihara Kagura's voice seemed a little leisurely, and he continued slowly. If it is a duel between Wood Release and Sharingan, it seems that there should be a more shocking way. Wood Release, Wood Dragon Technique. The trunks of the giant trees continued to grow upwards, turning into huge vines twisted together, and turned into a huge wooden dragon that was proudly upwards. This wooden dragon was hundreds of meters long. Just relying on its huge body, it seemed that it could destroy the entire venue at any time, which made people feel a little palpitating when they saw it. A huge vine stretched out towards the wooden dragon. Akihara Kagura stepped on the vine, staring forward, and stepped slowly and firmly onto the top of the wooden dragon. Second update. Chapter 41, The Emerald Green Figure Like a Demon. Since the departure of the first Hokage, Hoshirama Senju, the wood-style bloodline has long become a legend in Konoha village, and it is difficult for everyone to imagine the power of wood style. When the ancient forest grows densely, and the huge wooden dragon hovers over the forest, the people in Konoha village finally recalled the legend of the first Hokage. The first Hokage, Hoshirama Senju, used the power of wood style to defeat Uchiha Madara, united many ninja clans to establish the most prosperous ninja village, and ended the chaotic warring states period. How can wood style be so powerful? An Uchiha clan member finally couldn't suppress his inner fear, and said with trembling lips, "Did the first Hokage use this technique to defeat our ancestors? How did they compete with the first Hokage?" Uchiha Fugaku remained silent. As the patriarch of the Uchiha clan, Uchiha Fugaku knew many secrets and knew how powerful the Uchiha clan's bloodline Sharingan was. Itachi Uchiha Izumi looked at the wooden dragon in the examination room with a face full of panic. The 10-year-old Uchiha Izumi had experienced the Nine Tails Rebellion in Konoha and witnessed the horror of those huge creatures. The size of this wooden dragon was even enough to compete with the Nine Tails. Uchiha Shisu's eyes could not hide his worry. No one in the entire Konoha knew Uchiha Itachi's strength better than Uchiha Shisu. Even if Uchiha Shisu taught Uchiha Itachi some powerful techniques, it was difficult to save the losing situation under such a huge gap. Is this the power of wood release? Hatake Kakashi looked at everything in front of him in disbelief. Since the end of the Nine Tails Rebellion, Hatake Kakashi thought that there should not be many things in this ninja world that would cause him to have emotional fluctuations. As a result, after seeing the huge wooden dragon with his own eyes, his heart finally began to waver. When Hatake Kakashi was looking up information, he found that one document mentioned that wood release was enough to suppress the Nine Tails. However, after meeting Tenzo, Hatake Kakashi felt that there might be something wrong with the information. Now Hatake Kakashi knows that the problem is not the information. Hatake Kakashi looked at Tenzo next to him. "I can't do it." Tenzo shook his head slowly and said in a deep voice, "This technique requires a huge amount of wood release chakra to activate it. My chakra is not enough to activate this technique." Hatake Kakashi nodded silently. On the main stage of the audience, the third generation Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen wore a bamboo hat. With the help of the bamboo hat, he looked at the fearful faces of the leaders of the small ninja villages in other areas and nodded with satisfaction. The main purpose of this Chunin exam has been achieved. Now the only remaining trouble is to make the little guy Akihara Kagura and Shimura Danzo completely cut off as soon as possible, and let this little guy accept the inheritance of the will of fire. Otherwise, the uncontrolled power is still a bit too dangerous. Sarutobi Hiruzen's eyes were fixed on the figure that was stepping up the wooden dragon step by step, and his face gradually became a little serious. He couldn't let such a powerful force be affected by Danzo. As an old friend of Danzo, Sarutobi Hiruzen knew very well that Shimura Danzo was narrow-minded. Shimura Danzo couldn't control it at all, and problems would arise sooner or later. In a dark corner, a mysterious masked man in a gray robe leaned against the wall. The lower half of the pitcher plant monster was hidden under the ground, with only half of its body exposed above. What a terrible child. The half-black face of the pitcher plant monster looked at the scene in the examination room and said grimly, "This kid actually mastered the wood escape of Oshirama Senju. It's hard to imagine that there are still people in this ninja world who can reach this level by transplanting Hashirama's cells. It's a very useful chess piece." The mysterious masked man nodded slowly and continued, "We can almost carry out the plan to let this kid betray Konoha." When the mysterious masked man saw the wooden dragon technique with his own eyes, he was indeed shocked enough, but he soon calmed down. He was not afraid of this technique. "Your seeds will be killed." The half-white face of the pitcher plant monster laughed and said, "Facing this level of wood escape technique, Uchiha Itachi, that little guy, can't win. It doesn't matter." The mysterious masked man shook his head nonchalantly and continued, "If Uchiha Itachi dies, it will just make our plan go more smoothly." It seems that he still wants to resist. Obviously, the other party only needs one hit to end it. Inside the examination room, in the dense forest, Uchiha Itachi looked up at the wooden dragon in the sky, stepped hard on a tree trunk, raised his hand and shot a shuriken, which was nailed tightly to the giant tree. Uchiha Itachi glanced at his palm, a wire in his hand, and a wire wrapped around the shuriken. His body jumped up, swung a large arc swing, and jumped into the sky. Obviously, this young man still didn't give up the resistance. Uchiha Itachi swung in the air, and quickly formed a hand seal in his hand. Taking advantage of the height of the swing in the air, he sprayed a flame at the head of the wooden dragon. Fire style, great fireball technique. How fragile the boy who soared into the sky was. How huge was the wooden dragon in the sky above the forest. At this moment, it actually formed a shocking scene. No matter what the result of this exam was, people saw the tragic heroism of Uchiha Itachi. Barring resistance, Akihiro Kagura controlled the wooden dragon like a king, slowly turned his head, and knocked the flying fireball into a group of disappearing sparks. Uchiha Itachi stopped on a giant tree, staring at the wooden dragon in the sky. His palms were sweating. This was the tension he had never experienced before. "Goodbye." Akihiro Kagura drove the wooden dragon and pounced down. The huge wooden dragon swooped down towards Uchiha Itachi unstoppably, as if it was hitting a small insect, as if no one could stop all this from happening. "Listen." Little Sasuke was almost roaring. "Itachi." Uchiha Mikoto stared at the examination room nervously. She couldn't help but look at her husband, as if she hoped that her husband could do something. Uchiha Fugaku's eyes were blood red, and 3 black magatama slowly rotated in his eye sockets, but then slowly dissipated. Uchiha Fugaku quickly calmed down, because he was not only Uchiha Itachi's father, but also the patriarch of the Uchiha clan. "Hey, stop it." Shirinu Genma couldn't help but shout. As the chief examiner of the 3rd round, when the candidates were in danger, he should have stepped forward to prevent the loss of life. However, at this time, he felt that he couldn't stop this level of magic by hitting his head, and could only hope that the chief examiner's order would make the little devil stop attacking. However, the wooden dragon only paused for a moment. The huge wooden dragon rushed towards Uchiha Itachi again. Countless giant trees in the forest were knocked to the ground, and dust and smoke quickly spread, disturbing the entire audience. The situation in the venue could not be seen clearly. The smoke finally dissipated slowly. Everyone stared at the scene in the examination room with astonishment. A huge green figure, holding a conical spiral sword in his hand, actually pierced through the wooden dragon's head directly, like a demon who killed the wooden dragon. First update, please read, collect, and vote. The second update will be tomorrow. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 42, The Man Who Ignited the Uchiha Clan's Ambitions. What is that? A green giant. There were exclamations from the audience. The last match of the Chunin exam was really full of problems. The audience thought that Akihara Kagura's wooden dragon was unique, but a green half-body giant appeared in the field and killed the wooden dragon with one sword. Everyone present stared at the situation in the field, and they soon saw two figures under the translucent body of the green half-body giant. Uchiha Itachi. Uchiha Shisu. There was no need to guess too much. Many people had already understood the situation, because most of the ninjas in Konoha village had heard of Uchiha Shisu's name. So it was Uchiha Shisu who saved Uchiha Itachi. That green giant, is it Uchiha Shisu's technique? I didn't expect Uchiha Shisu to have this technique. Compared with these ordinary people who were not broad-minded, some people recognized Uchiha Shisu's technique, and many people in the Uchiha clan knew the name of this technique. The legendary Susanoo. The highest realm of the Sharingan bloodline, a technique that can only be cast by opening the main Gekyo Sharingan. Shisu has already mastered Susanoo. The morale of the entire Uchiha clan was greatly boosted. Originally, this group of Uchiha was still shocked by Akihara Kagura's wood-release ninjutsu, and even when Uchiha Itachi was about to lose, they felt that the Uchiha clan would no longer have a future. Now they suddenly have hope in their hearts. Even if there is one more wood-released ninja in Konoha village, what can it do? The Uchiha clan also has a main Gekyo Sharingan that can resist wood release. Is this the power of the main Gekyo Sharingan? Uchiha Itachi looked at the emerald green Susanoo in surprise, and then looked at his friend who saved him in crisis, and couldn't help but slowly lowered his head. Just at that moment, Uchiha Itachi almost thought he would die here. However, at the moment when the wooden dragon was about to fall, Uchiha Shisu suddenly appeared beside him in an instant, opened Susanoo and resisted the attack of the wooden dragon. Shisu, you shouldn't have saved me. As a child who was good at thinking since childhood, and with the teachings of Uchiha Shisu, Uchiha Itachi had long been aware of the internal conflicts between the family and Konoha. The impact of Susanoo was too great. Many people in the Uchiha clan believed in the power of the main Gekyo Sharingan and Susanoo. Shisu's Susanoo would undoubtedly ignite their ambitions again. Itachi, what are you talking about? Uchiha Shisu stroked Uchiha Itachi's head and explained with a smile, you are like my brother. How could I sit back and watch all this happen? Uchiha Shisu raised his head and looked up at the sky again, and I am confused because of my concern. I seem to see that the child's attack paused. Did you use illusion on him? Yet Uchiha Itachi nodded slowly, the three Magatama Sharingan in his eyes glowed red, and whispered, just at that moment, I used the Sharingan to cast an illusion on Akihara Kagura, but it seemed to be useless. No, it still worked. The voice of Akihara Kagura came from the sky. The body of the wooden dragon slowly disintegrated and turned into vines again and fell down. Uchiha Shisu saw that the threat was eliminated, and the tall Susanoo also slowly dissipated. He looked at Akihara Kagura who was falling down on the vines with curiosity. At least your illusion almost killed you. Akihara Kagura looked at Uchiha Itachi, frowned and said, when the examiner asked me to stop fighting, I was going to stop and appreciate the fear on your face, but I ended up falling into your illusion and lost control of the wooden dragon. Uchiha Itachi's eyes were a little stunned. Uchiha Shisu couldn't help laughing. Akihara Kagura stopped talking, of course what he said was fake. There were so many people in the audience of this Chunin exam, Akihara Kagura didn't think he could kill Uchiha Itachi on the spot. Even if he tried his best to kill Uchiha Itachi, how much benefit would it bring? Maybe he would be targeted by Uchiha Shisu. Akihara Kagura's eyes quietly swept over Uchiha Shisu. This person looked harmless, but he might be the most dangerous person to him. The memory of the previous life provided a message. Uchiha Shisu's main Gekyo Sharingan can cast a unique illusion. Kodomatsukami. Kodomatsukami, the effect of the technique is very amazing. It can permanently modify a person's will and easily make a person a puppet of the caster. Fortunately, this illusion called Kodomatsukami has a cooling time of more than 10 years, and Uchiha Shisu did not dare to use it rashly. He would only save the technique at the critical moment. As a matter of course, if Akihara Kagura really acted recklessly in Konoha and showed an attitude that endangered the safety of Konoha, Uchiha Shisu would never hesitate to use Kodomatsukami against him. This is a dangerous person. This is a dangerous technique. These are a pair of dangerous eyes. Because anyone who gets Uchiha Shisu's main Gekyo Sharingan can use the Kodomatsukami illusion in this pair of main Gekyo Sharingan, and it is possible to use Kodomatsukami on Akihara Kagura, and even only one Kodomatsukami main Gekyo Sharingan is enough. Therefore, No one can get Kido Matsukumi's main Gekyo Sharingan, even Uchiha Shisu, the owner of this pair of main Gekyo Sharingan. Uchiha Shisu is not a person who can protect his own eyes. Even Uchiha Shisu, who is shackled by the ninja world's thinking, never realizes how much trouble this pair of eyes will cause to the ninja world if it falls into the hands of people with ulterior motives. Those guys who like to use such despicable means will never miss the opportunity to get Kido Matsukumi once they know the true ability of Kido Matsukumi. Akihara Kagura is not such a person. This method of using Kido Matsukumi to forcibly modify other people's will and force others to obey orders is too low level. Boring. Akihara Kagura lowered her HUD slightly. Uchiha Itachi was a little at a loss. Does this guy think it's boring to fight with me? Okay. Uchiha Shisu patted Uchiha Itachi on the shoulder, smiled and said, "Don't worry about the victory or defeat for a while, you two little guys still have a long future." After comforting Uchiha Itachi, Uchiha Shisu looked at Akihara Kagura with hope. "You all have powerful bloodline limits, just like the first generation Hokage Senju Hashirama and his friend Uchiha Madara founded Konoha together. I hope you and Itachi can work hard together in the future to practice and jointly protect the future of Konoha." Yes, Uchiha Itachi always listens to Shisu's teachings. Then you work hard to protect Konoha. Akihara Kagura looked at Uchiha Itachi and nodded. Compared with Shirinu Genma, who could only shout to stop the fight, the current Uchiha Shisu is actually more like an examiner. However, Uchiha Shisu is still too naive. In this Chunin exam, Uchiha Shisu used Susanoo to stop Akihara Kagura's Wood Dragon, which completely ignited the ambition of the Uchiha clan. Susanoo can solve the wood release of the first Hokage? Can it also solve the third Hokage's Konoha high-ranking officials? Someone lit a pile of dry straw with his own hands, but forgot that he had no ability to put out the fire unless he used his life to put out the fire he had lit. Second update, I think about the use of Kido Matsukumi. What if we seal a genjutsu that will not make people lose themselves in power in Kido Matsukumi? Does anyone have any suggestions? Chapter 43, Copper Coins Explode. The Chunin exam was declared over. This Chunin exam was shorter than the previous ones, but it was the most exciting one in Konoha's history. The third Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen announced that 2 people were promoted to Chunin. Akihara Kagura, Uchiha Itachi. Uchiha Itachi's defeat to Akihara Kagura certainly made the Uchiha clan a little unhappy, but Uchiha Shisu used Susanoo to save the situation and save face. Akihara Kagura didn't have time to care about these. After all, this exam had 2 people's work tasks, which just happened to let Akihara Kagura learn more about the reward rules of this working system. System prompt: participate in the Chunin exam according to Sarutobi Hiruzen's requirements. The work task has been completed, and the reward skill, Konoha Fluid Technique. Konoha Fluid Technique, Konoha Village's basic physical skills, including Shadow Dance Leaf, Konoha Cyclone, Konoha Gale, Konoha Rising Wind, Konoha Great Cyclone, Konoha Strong Cyclone and other basic physical skills, originated from Sarutobi Hiruzen's task reward. Oh my. This is a copper coin explosion. He only gave a bunch of physical techniques. Perhaps this task was not difficult. Sarutobi Hiruzen did not even have any special requirements, just let Akihara Kagura participate in this Chunin exam. That's not right. This old guy asked Akihara Kagura, a wood-release ninja, to participate in the exam. He must have wanted Akihara Kagura to help suppress Uchiha Itachi, but as a politician, Sarutobi Hiruzen would never say this out loud. No wonder Shimura Danzo always scolds him. Akihara Kagura can only comfort himself that his close combat method is quite superficial, which can be regarded as making up for a weakness. It is not good for a Konoha Chunin not to know physical techniques. With the strong physical strength brought by Hashirama's cells, this can be regarded as adding a tooth to the tiger. In comparison, another boss, Shimura Danzo, is not a good leader. System prompt: participate in the Chunin exam according to Shimura Danzo's requirements and defeat Uchiha Itachi in the exam. The task has been completed, and the reward is Wind Release Vacuum Blade. Wind Style, Vacuum Blade, B-Rank Wind Style Ninjutsu, which focuses Wind Style Chakra on a kunai to form a sharp sword, derived from a mission reward from Danzo Shimura. This skill reward is a bit fake. Akihara Kagura doesn't even have a decent kunai. If it were according to Danzo Shimura's requirements, it would not be easy for a normal Chunin to defeat Uchiha Itachi. Akihara Kagura was able to win purely because of the power of wood-style ninjutsu. After counting his rewards, Akihara Kagura slowly returned to the root base, intending to wait until the next morning to report to the Anbu. Result: 2 gatekeepers stopped him. This time, the 2 gatekeepers were no longer afraid of Akihara Kagura, and their attitude was so cold as if Akihara Kagura was an outsider who broke into the root base. In fact, Akihara Kagura was indeed an outsider. Akihara Kagura, you are no longer a member of the root. The 2 gatekeepers stopped Akihara Kagura from breaking in, and said something quite straightforward. Danzo-sama has removed you from the root and ordered us not to allow you to enter and leave the base at will. If you want to see Danzo-sama, we can go and help inform him. That being said, the 2 gatekeepers were still prepared for Akihara Kagura to break in, and even thought about whether Akihara Kagura would make a big fuss, but they could not disobey Danzo's order. In fact, Shimura Danzo reprimanded all members of the root, thinking that they did not obey the will of the root and actually pleased Akihara Kagura some time ago. Was that pampering? That was clearly forced respect. At that time, Akihara Kagura, this little brat, was under the banner of Danzo-sama, and his strength was stronger than theirs. What could they, the ordinary root ninjas, do? As a result, Danzo-sama no longer doted on that little brat, and even blamed those problems on them. Anyway, the root is finally normal now. This time, the 2 gatekeepers were very determined to treat Akihara Kagura. Even if Akihara Kagura caused trouble, they would not let this kid go. I know. This time, Akihara Kagura did nothing, just took a deep look at the dark base, turned around and left calmly. Konoha village. The moon in the sky was still bright. Akihara Kagura looked up at the moon. The moon in this ninja world was not a real moon, but a moon created by humans. Akihara Kagura lowered his head and overlooked the scenery of Konoha village. There are many people in this village, but no one is his relative. There are many houses here, but there is no one for him to live in. Akihara Kagura found a lounge chair in the park and lay down on his side. He would rest here for a night and wait until tomorrow to report to the Anbu. The night in Konoha village was a little chilly. Akihara Kagura hugged his shoulders and slowly curled up. People always have a way to solve the problem of the night. In a dark corner, the mysterious masked man appeared quietly. The pitcher plant monster also slowly drilled out from the ground. It seems that we don't need to do anything more. The black half of the pitcher plant monster's face revealed a sinister and terrifying smile. Looking at Akihara Kagura lying on the recliner, his voice added a bit of ridicule. Is Shimura Danzo always so stupid? He threw a wood-released ninja who was loyal to him out without mercy. Humph, Konoha is a bunch of idiots. The mysterious masked man snorted coldly, and continued coldly, those idiots always think they can control everyone. What should we do now? The white half of the pitcher plant monster's face was a little confused, and asked curiously, according to your plan, where is it more appropriate to throw Ryoma Aburame's body? Anywhere is fine. The mysterious masked man didn't care, and continued coldly, no one will testify for this kid, and it is impossible for him to explain it clearly. I didn't expect it. The black half of the pitcher plant monster's face smiled a little happily. Our plan will go so smoothly, we don't even need to think too much. This kid must be desperate. Just abandoned by Shimura Danzo, now facing groundless accusations, and even unable to find any evidence of his innocence. Okay, let's get started. The mysterious masked man didn't want to waste too much useless time at this time, and ordered, let this kid see how cruel this fake world is. As soon as the words fell, a vortex of time and space appeared around the mysterious masked man, and his body spun rapidly and disappeared directly on the spot. After the body of the pitcher plant monster saw the mysterious masked man disappear, its body also slowly sank into the ground. The whole park was still silent. It seemed that the 2 people had never been here. A little girl with a bun was passing by the park and noticed a little homeless person on the park lounge chair. She was caught off guard and startled. Huh? However, the little girl saw that the other person was just a teenager, and he should not be much older than her, so she calmed down. Although I have often picked up strange things in the village since I was a child, it is still too strange to pick up a person. The face of the little girl with a bun was wrinkled. The little girl finally gave up the horrible idea of picking up a person, and skipped back to get a small blanket and covered the 10-year-old boy. Akihara Kagura slowly opened her eyes, reached out to touch the blanket on her body, and quietly watched the figure of the little girl with a bun leaving. Kind people will have good luck. It seems that my luck is really good today. First update. Shianshin is really a kind person. Although I am just a passerby fan of Shianshin, I feel that Cheyenne is the only girl among the 12 young warriors of Konoha who is not in love. In addition, the author is a true fan of Orochimaru, believe me. If you don't believe it, you can take a look at starting to be the mastermind from Naruto. I am a die-hard fan of Orochimaru. Chapter 44. I remember it was me who killed Aburame Ryoma, right? Late at night. Konoha village. Root base. The gatekeepers of the root base were still guarding the base diligently. A dark object was suddenly thrown in from the well at the entrance of the base. The two gatekeepers were startled and hurried over to check the situation. This is Ryoma Aburame. The eyes of the two gatekeepers suddenly changed. The object that fell from the entrance of the base was the body of Ryoma Aburame. Ryoma Aburame's body and even his head were pierced by sharp wooden thorns. Dozens of wounds had pieces of wooden thorns emerging, making it look like a bush growing out of his body. This is wood release ninjutsu. The two gatekeepers immediately went to report to Danzo Shimura. Ryoma Aburame was once Danzo Shimura's personal guard. It was fine if he was killed, but his body was thrown into the root base, which was clearly a provocation to the root. The most troublesome thing is that the murderer is most likely Kagura Akihara. After all, the gatekeeper of the root had just driven away Akihara Kagura, and Ryoma Aburame was killed by wood release, and his body was thrown in. It was most likely the revenge of that brat. After seeing Ryoma Aburame's body, Shimura Danzo immediately determined that it was done by Akihara Kagura, because he had seen Akihara Kagura use this wood release ninjutsu with his own eyes. What's more, Akihara Kagura herself is an extreme child. The two gatekeepers of the root were ordered to expel Akihara Kagura. Akihara Kagura happened to meet Ryoma Aburame, who returned from a mission in the Hidden Mist village. He simply killed Ryoma Aburame to vent his hatred and revenge on the root, which was very consistent with Akihara Kagura's style. Go and bring him back. A flash of rage flashed across Shimura Danzo's face. Akihara Kagura's killing of Ryoma Aburame was tantamount to a provocation of his majesty. That brat wouldn't think that he could still tolerate his insolence. The members of the root looked at each other. Although they dared not disobey Danzo's order, they could not help but ask at this time, does Lord Danzo not want us to live? Shimura Danzo also realized this situation, leaning on his crutches, and ordered in a cold voice, does anyone know where the brat is? A group of root ninjas did not dare to say anything. They also did not know where Akihara Kagura was. Shimura Danzo once again realized that there was something wrong with his question, because Akihara Kagura was not a native of Konoha, but an outsider brought into Konoha by himself. It was really troublesome. Where could that brat be in the middle of the night? Apart from the root base, where else could that brat live? Everyone, look for him separately. Shimura Danzo's face became extremely ugly, and he said in a deep voice, after whichever class finds the person, just need to entangle him, I will rush there immediately. I want to see that brat before dawn. In the early hours of the morning, Akihara Kagura couldn't sleep. When the root ninjas were searching for him on a large scale, Akihara Kagura realized that something might have happened in the village, and used the darkness of the ninja world to investigate the situation in the root. Akihara Kagura saw the body of Aburame Ryoma in her mind, and only the wood release grafting technique could cause the tragic appearance of that body. In an instant, as a master of framing others, Akihara Kagura immediately knew the reason for the sudden large-scale movement of the root ninjas. This is someone using wood release to frame him. There are only a handful of wood release ninjas in the entire ninja world, and the only person that Shimura Danzo knows who can use the wood release grafting technique must be Akihara Kagura himself. This is a black pot that fell on Akihara Kagura out of thin air. Akihara Kagura immediately thought about why this black pot fell on her, and every black pot in the ninja world did not come out of thin air. In this ninja world, there are actually people who are putting the blame on themselves. It is enough to just find out the other owners of the grafting technique. The information brought by the memory of the previous life is extremely important. Akihara Kagura knows that there are other people who can use this technique, a hidden mastermind in the ninja world. A man who always wears a mysterious mask. Official title, Mysterious Masked Man. This guy is in Konoha. When Akihara Kagura secretly used Darkness of Ninja World to investigate the information of the mysterious masked man, he suddenly found that this guy was hiding in Konoha village, even near him. Perhaps the struggle in Konoha is too comfortable, which makes people subconsciously forget the hidden dangers in the ninja world. Akihara Kagura is still planning to continue to be a double agent between Shimura Danzo and Sarutobi Hiruzen, but has forgotten that someone has been watching everything that happened in Konoha. In addition, the last stop of Aburame Ryoma's life is the Hidden Mist Village, which happens to be a large country ninja village that has been entrenched and controlled by the mysterious masked man for a long time. Has this guy been in Konoha all this time? Akihiro Kagura's eyes narrowed slightly, thinking about everything that happened tonight. He used the grafting technique to kill Aburame Ryoma to frame me, but he didn't want to kill me to force me to defect? To become his pawn. Why can't he just say this good thing directly? The mysterious masked man could just say it to his face. Would a worker like me be willing to refuse the temptation to work for a new boss? He actually used such a despicable method. It is impossible to logically get rid of this black pot. Akihiro Kagura suddenly sat up straight, and the small blanket covering her body was like a cloak, hanging on her back the moment she threw her hand. Since she can't wash away her innocence, she can only admit this black pot first, and then find a way to get rid of it. Anyway, write this account down in the notebook first. No matter what, she can't delay the trip to report to the Anbu today, because for Akihiro Kagura, entering the Anbu means a new boss and a new gift package for joining the company. It just so happens that there is a man who can be used in the Anbu of Konoha village. Akihiro Kagura can use him to cause some trouble for the mysterious masked man. Hey! Akihiro Kagura took the initiative to find a team of root ninjas. Tie him up. The moment this team of root ninjas saw Akihiro Kagura, they immediately drew out their ninja swords without waiting for the little guy to speak, and surrounded him. Akihiro Kagura's fingers suddenly came together. With the activation of wood release chakra, huge vines quickly drilled out from the ground and entangled the surrounding root ninjas. A root ninja avoided the vines, waved the ninja sword and chopped at Akihiro Kagura, but was kicked away by Akihiro Kagura. A vine tied up the ninja, and the other root ninjas were quickly subdued by the vines. The leader of this team of root ninjas was very tough. He stiffened his neck and asked, "Lord Kagura, you killed Ryoma Aburame, do you want to kill us now? We are here to find you on the orders of Lord Danzo, and Lord Danzo will be here soon. Take me to see Lord Danzo." Akihiro Kagura controlled the vines to put down the root leader who performed well, and whispered, "I won't kill you again, so as not to make Lord Danzo angry again. If Ryoma Aburame hadn't just returned to Konoha and started to laugh at me for being expelled from the root by Lord Danzo, I wouldn't have accidentally killed Senior Ryoma." "Yes." The root leader nodded slowly, and said in accordance with Akihiro Kagura's meaning, "Ryoma Aburame said the wrong thing, and he was indeed asking for death." After this team of root ninjas and Akihiro Kagura left, the figure of a mysterious masked man quietly appeared under a big tree, and there seemed to be some confusion in his voice. "Am I under an illusion?" The mysterious masked man's voice was a little confused. Why didn't the kid argue? Why did he admit that he killed Aburame Ryoma? The mysterious masked man felt that his brain was a little confused. "I remember, it should be me who killed Aburame Ryoma, right? Second update. Please collect it. Please continue to read it. Thank you book friend 20230607201334200 for the reward. Thank you. Is there any way to blow up Shenhui? I'm tired of using the multiplication detonation talisman shadow clone. Chapter 45, Eye of Bond. The mysterious masked man was a little confused. Why is this Akihiro Kagura's brain circuit a little strange? When a normal person is wronged, should he try hard to defend himself, and be forced to defect after being unable to defend himself? Why did this Akihiro Kagura take the initiative to take the blame? Zell, go and see. The mysterious masked man could only let the pitcher plant monster sneak into the ground to find out what was going on and why the plan to force Akihiro Kagura to defect went wrong. Okay. The pitcher plant monster sank immediately. After this monster named Zetsu sneaked into the ground, he followed the group to the root base, secretly hiding underground and eavesdropping on the conversation between Akihiro Kagura and Shimura Danzo. The root base. When Shimura Danzo first saw the body of Aburame Ryoma, he was angry at Akihiro Kagura's audacity and immediately wanted to catch this kid and teach him a lesson. Now, Akihiro Kagura was standing in front of him, and even looked like it was natural to kill Aburame Ryoma, as if he had done nothing wrong. Why did you kill Ryoma? I didn't like him when I was in the root. He was mocking me for being kicked out of the base, and even mocking me as a traitor like that Gia. I just wanted to teach him a lesson, but he called me a traitor again, so I killed him with one move. Danzo Shimura fell silent. What's wrong with this Aburame Ryoma's brain? He returned to the village without asking about the situation, but mocked a killing Chul. Danzo Shimura drove Akihara Kagura out of the route, not because Akihara Kagura betrayed him, but because Akihara Kagura was taken away by Sarutobi Hirozen. He could no longer trust Akihara Kagura as before, but this kid was still a tool that could be used. You are too extreme. Shimura Danzo took a deep breath, suppressed his anger, and continued to scold. I have ordered you long ago that you are not allowed to kill people in the village at will. It's just Ryoma of your aim, it's not anyone else in the village. Lord Danzo will definitely deal with it. Akihara Kagura frowned and pointed at the two gatekeepers of the route base. When I was driven out by those two guys, I wanted to kill them, but I was worried that I would make Lord Danzo unhappy again and be completely abandoned by Lord Danzo. Humph. You still know the importance of the matter. You still know that letting me deal with it for you will cause trouble. Shimura Danzo clenched his crutches and said in a deep voice, fortunately, you threw Ryoma's body into the route base. Once the group of Anbu people found Ryoma's body, that would be a big trouble. Fortunately, Akihara Kagura killed people from the route. If Akihara Kagura killed other ninjas in the village, Shimura Danzo might have to negotiate with other people, and it would be difficult to clean up this kid's mess. Something seems to be wrong, but Shimura Danzo feels that there is nothing wrong. Forget it. The most important thing at the moment is to make this kid change his murderous character, at least not to kill people in the village casually. This bastard kid. It is obviously a sharp weapon, but before he uses it to attack the enemy, the weapon hurts his palm first. When you go to the Anbu, you must not kill your colleagues at will. Danzo Shimura could only suppress his anger and scolded coldly, Sarutobi Hirozen is not a good person. He will not cover up for you like I did. Then can I kill the traitor named Tenzo and Kakashi? What if they also mock me for being kicked out by Lord Danzo? No. They can't do that. Danzo Shimura frowned tightly, feeling like he was speaking well of Tenzo and Kakashi. He hurriedly tried to sort out his thoughts and finally brought up serious matters. I remember that you should report to the Anbu today. Yes. Go. Danzo Shimura planned to send the little guy Akihara Kagura away first, and warned, if you cause trouble again in the future, I will send you back. I won't. Akihara Kagura immediately interrupted Danzo Shimura. Akihara Kagura knew that what Shimura Danzo wanted to say was to send him back to Orochimaru. Of course, the old man was just saying it casually, but he couldn't say it casually because there might be an eavesdropper around. Although Akihara Kagura knew that the mysterious masked man had been near him, it was not convenient for him to meet the new boss at this time, and he had to cause some trouble for the new boss. Workplace rules. If a company needs you to join, the treatment you get from actively submitting your resume and being poached by a headhunter is completely different. After leaving the route base, Akihara Kagura went directly to the Konoha Anbu to report. After registering the information, he first received a complete set of Anbu equipment. A kunai, a short ninja sword, and a matching shuriken, a set of gray Anbu protective gear, and a mask to cover his face. Anbu locker room. When Akihara Kagura came in with a pile of equipment in his arms, more than a dozen Anbu ninjas were waiting for him inside, and everyone had a different expression. Kid, you're late. An impatient Anbu ninja was the first to speak up and accused, everyone is waiting for you here. Do you have a mission? Akihara Kagura glanced at him, and then looked around at everyone present. Or are you too weak to complete the mission? What did you say? Several Anbu present were instantly furious. Don't be impulsive. Hatake Kakashi stopped several people, feeling a little headache. This kid is really a big trouble. He just had a conflict with his colleagues on his first day at work. Who knows how much trouble he will cause in the future? Yes, don't be impulsive. Tenzo quickly stopped his colleagues and said, Akihara Kagura is a newcomer, so be more tolerant of him. After that, Tenzo took the initiative to show his goodwill to Akihara Kagura. Do you want to change your equipment first? You can put your things in the locker, and there is an empty locker inside. By the way, I almost forgot to tell you. Senior Kakashi assigned you to my class. The entire Anbu has a total of 4 squads, each of which is under the jurisdiction of 4 classes, and each class has 4 people. Hatake Kakashi is a squad leader of the Anbu, and Tenzo is a squad leader of this squad. Oh. Akihara Kagura looked at Tenzo in front of him, with a smile in his eyes, and his attitude suddenly became kind. So I am your subordinate? It sounds good. System prompt, you have a new superior, Tenzo, and you will be rewarded with a gift pack for new employees, and get a new characteristic, would release bloodline limit. System prompt: it is detected that the host has wood-style bloodline limit, which has been improved. You can develop more wood-style ninjutsu that suits you. System prompt: you have a new superior, Hatake Kakashi, and you are rewarded with a gift pack for new employees, which will unlock the new feature Eye of Bondage, left. Eye of Bondage, left, the legendary Mangekyo Sharingan, although it only has one left eye, still has the power of pupil techniques that ordinary people cannot fathom. If you get the Eye of Bondage, right, for fusion and strengthening, the Mangekyo Sharingan will be even more powerful. First update, a little late. Because I have been struggling with whether to see Kakashi or the Masked Man. Chapter 46 Mangekyo Sharingan Technique, Limited Tsukuyomi. Mangekyo Sharingan. This is the top bloodline limit after the evolution of Sharingan. If a person has Mangekyo Sharingan, then he has the possibility to compete with opponents of the level of Naruto, and can easily become a top ninja. Mangekyo Sharingan is an evolution that causes qualitative change. The illusion ability of Sharingan alone has been greatly enhanced, and it can use illusion to control the tailed beast. In addition, each Mangekyo Sharingan has a magical pupil technique, which is completely unimaginable for ordinary ninjas, such as Uchiha Shisu's Kiromatsu Kami. If you have a pair of Mangekyo Sharingan, you can even awaken a more powerful pupil technique, such as the Emerald Green Susanoo that Uchiha Shisu once used. Of course, the restrictive effect of Mangekyo Sharingan is also very large. Once the pupil technique of Mangekyo Sharingan is used too much, it will cause the pupil power to be exhausted, and the Mangekyo Sharingan will become completely blind. Unfortunately, Akihara Kagura has only got one Mangekyo Sharingan for now. If she wants to get a stronger eye power, she must find a way to get another eye. The system is a bit stingy. Hatake Kakashi is a well-known figure in the entire ninja world. In his previous life, Hatake Kakashi was considered an out-of-the-box character. I have to work for Boss Hatake, but there is only one Mangekyo Sharingan in the gift package for joining the company. I am loyal to Konoha and have contributed to the future of the village. Doesn't this feature of Bonding Eye, left, force me to go to another boss? If I want to get Bonding Eye, right, and get a complete pair of Mangekyo Sharingan, I must work for another boss, but the other boss is not a good person. Forget it. This is also within my plan. While changing clothes and equipment, Akihara Kagura tried to feel whether there was any change in her left eye to avoid being discovered by others. Perhaps the system rewards the bloodline limit directly from the body, rather than through external transplantation. Akihara Kagura can feel that her brain can control the switch between the Mangekyo Sharingan and the normal eye. What kind of magical pupil technique does this left eye have? System prompt: the pupil technique of the Mangekyo Sharingan is being awakened according to the host's inner will. The pupil technique awakening is successful. Bound eye, left, has been replaced by the new feature, Mangekyo Sharingan, left. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the new skill, Limited Tsukuyomi. Mangekyo Sharingan, left, it has extremely strong observation, copying and hypnosis abilities, enhances observation, enhances the ability to apply and see through illusions, can copy physical techniques and non-bloodline ninjutsu, and can even hypnotize tailed beasts, with built-in pupil technique limited to Tsukuyomi. Limited Tsukuyomi, a pupil technique that exists in the Mangekyo Sharingan. When limited Tsukuyomi is used on the enemy, a new illusion world will be created based on the enemy's life and the host's will, and the enemy's body will be pulled into the illusion world through the power of time and space. When the enemy cannot escape the fate of the illusion world or cannot defeat the host, the enemy's body will be lost in the illusion world forever. System prompts: when using limited Tsukuyomi, the host needs at least SSS level chakra. Using limited Tsukuyomi too much will cause the Mangekyo Sharingan to go blind. If the host obtains the Eye of Bonds, right, and awakens a new Mangekyo Sharingan, the power of limited Tsukuyomi will be greatly enhanced. I seem to have seen this pupil technique before. However, this doesn't seem to be the pupil technique I awakened. Akihara Kagura feels that this pupil technique has something, and it may not be her trump card. This pupil technique is much faster than wood release to deal with the enemy. Of course, wood release bloodline limit was also strengthened because of Tenzo. Akihara Kagura felt that she could control a wood release chakra as easily as her own arm, and there was no shackles of hand seals. She could completely create new wood release ninjutsu based on her own ideas. Now, the purpose of reporting to the Anbu has been achieved, and the two new bosses brought a lot of gift packages. It's time to make the next plan, to cause some trouble to the mysterious masked man hiding in Konoha, so that this future new boss will take the initiative to find me. It just so happens that there is a guy in this Enbu locker room who can cause trouble for the mysterious masked man. Tenzo, that's the name, right? Akihara Kagura put on her clothes, her eyes fell on Tenzo who had been kindly guiding her, and said, "Do you want to know why I was late this morning?" "What's the reason?" Tenzo looked at the boy in front of him curiously. "Find a quiet place." Akihara Kagura raised her eyebrows and continued to ask, "Or after the mission is completed, we can find a place to talk." Tenzo slowly looked at Hatake Kakashi, looking for help from this senior, because he had never been alone with Akihara Kagura. At this time, Tenzo urgently needed the help of Hatake Kakashi. Akihara Kagura followed his gaze and looked at Hatake Kakashi, inviting him, "If Kakashi-senpai is free, you can also come to help as a judge, even if you are biased towards Tenzo's squad leader during the judgment process. It doesn't matter. You go to perform the task of protecting the Hokage." Hatake Kakashi waved his hand to let a group of Enbu ninjas go out, and ordered, "If there are any orders, come and tell me immediately, I will deal with their problems first." A group of Enbu ninjas filed out. There were only 3 of them left in the entire Enbu locker room. Akihara Kagura sat on a chair in the locker room and casually said a message. "Last night, someone secretly used wood release to kill the Roots of Uraim Ryoma and threw him to the Roots base. Danzo-sama called me over for questioning, and I admitted that I did it." Tenzo's face changed. "You killed Ryoma-senpai?" A trace of fear and uneasiness flashed in Tenzo's eyes. This little brat wanted to intimidate him. Hatake Kakashi's face was also a little ugly, as if he thought of something unhappy. "Killing your own companions, is this what you want to tell us?" "But I didn't kill him." Akihara Kagura stared at Tenzo closely, and continued without changing his expression. "Someone used wood release to kill Uraim Ryoma, threw him into the root base, and framed me. In order to alienate the relationship between me and Lord Danzo, only you. It's not me." Tenzo shook his head quickly and argued, "I was on a mission last night, and everyone else in the class can prove it for me. But it's not me either." Akihara Kagura stared at Tenzo, spread out his palms and said, "If I wanted to kill Uraim Ryoma, I wouldn't need to say it at all, right? In fact, even if we kill him in front of Danzo-sama, there will be no punishment, Captain Tenzo. In the whole Konoha, or the whole ninja world, there are only 2 of us who can use wood release ninjutsu. Can we find other people who possess wood release bloodline?" Tenzo felt speechless. "Maybe not." Hatake Kakashi raised his eyes slightly and explained, "The S-rank rebel ninja in the village, or a Chimaru, is the guy who used you for human experiments and research. It is possible that he can create a new wood release bloodline ninja." Akihara Kagura was a little speechless. "I want to make trouble for the new boss, not ask you to make trouble for my old boss. I'm curious about one thing." Hatake Kakashi stared at Akihara Kagura and continued, "It wasn't you who killed the Uraim Ryoma. Why didn't you explain this so-called truth to Shimura Danzo? If I deny it, Lord Danzo won't believe me anymore. Because the people who used this incident to frame me did so in order to alienate the relationship between me and Lord Danzo, and this kind of thing was most likely done by you." Akihara Kagura looked back at Hatake Kakashi, fearless in her eyes, "Admitting that you killed Ryoma of Uraim is just an insignificant little thing. Losing the trust of Lord Danzo is a real big deal for me." Akihara Kagura looked at Tenzo and said, "Captain Tenzo, I have already taken responsibility for this matter in front of Lord Danzo, and I will keep this account for now." Tenzo's face turned pale, and he felt really wronged. How could this new subordinate throw the blame on himself as soon as he arrived? Second update. I feel that the limited Tsukuyomi is more fun, and it is convenient for the future to toss around, and it is convenient for the future to help others. It's the movie version of Road to Ninja. Chapter 47. The person who wronged you knows how wronged you are better than you do. Tenzo felt that he was really wronged. Hatake Kakashi thought that Tenzo was also wronged. Kakashi always knew that Tenzo was an honest man and it was impossible for him to do such a random killing. Akihara Kagura knew that Tenzo was wronged. As a person who framed Tenzo, he must know how wrong Tenzo was. Is there a possibility? Tenzo's face turned pale and he carefully put forward his hypothesis. "Kagura, in addition to the 2 of us, there is another wood-released ninja hidden in the village. It may not be impossible." Hatake Kakashi looked up at the sky and talked incessantly. I don't find it strange what happened in the ninja world and who appeared. Hatake Kakashi had a strange idea in his heart. It was not a bad thing that someone wanted this kid to stay away from Shimura Danzo, but the method was a bit too extreme. Of course. This idea must not be said directly, otherwise this kid who always talked about Shimura Danzo would probably fight with him on the spot. Who would do such a thing? Who will benefit from driving a wedge between Shimura Danzo and Akihara Kagura? Hatake Kakashi couldn't help but recall the style of the old man in the Hokage building. Could it be that there was another wood-style ninja hidden under the command of the third Hokage? When did that wood-style ninja appear? It's just that killing Aburame Ryoma doesn't seem like the third Hokage's style. However, as a ninja who has been in the Anbu for many years, Hatake Kakashi has experienced a lot of darkness and will not use his fixed thinking to think about the ideas of a Hokage. Of course. This matter must be investigated clearly. There is a wood-style ninja hiding in the village who killed fellow villagers. At least we need to know whether this person is an enemy who sneaked in or a hidden subordinate of a high-level official. Okay, I'll check this matter. Hatake Kakashi was going to take this trouble on behalf of his two subordinates. He lowered his head and thought, if this person wants to alienate you and Danzo, but fails to achieve his desired goal, he will definitely show up again in the future to use wood release to kill people. When Hatake Kakashi said this, he looked at Akihara Kagura again. Don't doubt your squad leader. Tenzo will never frame others. Senior Kakashi Tenzo's eyes were obviously touched. Oh. Akihara Kagura nodded, with a look of disbelief on his face. Is he the kind of person who likes to frame others? If there was no other way, how could he put the blame on Tenzo? Forget it. The goal has been achieved. As long as Hatake Kakashi is willing to check, it's enough. Even if the mysterious masked man hiding in the dark will not reveal any flaws, Akihara Kagura will find a way to let Hatake Kakashi find some clues. At the same time, the pitcher plant monster, who had been hiding underground and eavesdropping, quietly informed the mysterious masked man of the communication between Hatake Kakashi, Tenzo and Akihara Kagura. Tisk, when the mysterious masked man got the news, he couldn't help but sneer. That idiot Kakashi is really overestimating himself. What does he think he can find out? I'll kill another person tonight and see what that idiot can do. Wait, you're not smart either. You clearly want to go against Hatake Kakashi. The pitcher plant monster felt that the mysterious masked man was a little bit too excited, and hurriedly persuaded him. They already know that someone is instigating secretly. Our plan to use wood release to frame the kid Akihara Kagura is already difficult to succeed. When the pitcher plant monster said this, he paused for a moment, and then continued to persuade, even if you kill another person, there is no point, right? It is even possible to prove that the kid was secretly framed by someone. The mysterious masked man suddenly fell silent. For a moment, he was distracted by that guy Hatake Kakashi, and he actually forgot that what he originally wanted to do was to recruit that brat Akihara Kagura. Absolutely. The mysterious masked man took a deep breath and calmed himself down. Keeping an eye on that brat first, and then see if there are other opportunities. Of course. I haven't found any opportunities today. Because Akihara Kagura has just joined the Anbu, it is definitely impossible for her to act alone. Hatake Kakashi took Tenzo and Akihara Kagura to carry out the daily tasks of the Anbu for a day, mainly responsible for protecting the Hokage, conveying the Hokage's orders to other departments, and checking the garrison patrols to prevent enemy invasions. What time can we go to rest? Akihara Kagura felt that the daily tasks of the Anbu were relatively easy. Where do the Anbu members go to rest at night? Dormitories? Why don't I see any dormitories? Rest at night. Hatake Kakashi and Tenzo looked at Akihara Kagura in surprise. No rest at night. Akihara Kagura's expression was even more surprised than theirs. Of course not. Hatake Kakashi shook his head quickly and continued, in addition to going out on missions, the daily patrols in the village, the Anbu generally need to perform patrol tasks for more than 16 hours. Someone will come to take over from us tomorrow morning. Working 16 hours a day. Akihara Kagura's face couldn't help but change. There are so many street lamps in Konoha village, why aren't there corpses of Hokage hanging on them? The work of the Anbu is a bit boring. Compared to going out on missions, staying in the village to protect the Hokage and prevent enemy invasions is already very easy. Tenzo seemed to have gotten used to this a long time ago, and continued, only ninjas who can truly endure can become Anbu. While talking, Tenzo handed Akihara Kagura a soldier pill, Can you adapt to the work of the Anbu on the first day? Let's have dinner first. Is this dinner? Akihara Kagura felt the working atmosphere of the ninja world for the first time. If the daily life of the Anbu members is always like this, can the bodies of the Hokage really not be hung separately on the street lamps? Maybe it will be a bit hard. Hatake Kakashi bit a pill and whispered, "The full name of Anbu is Assassination Tactics Special Forces. We are Konoha's army in peacetime. It is impossible for us to be as relaxed as other ninjas when performing missions." Oh. Akihara Kagura understood immediately. By the way, you don't have a code yet, right? Hatake Kakashi glanced at Akihara Kagura. When Anbu are performing missions, they cannot use their own names, nor can they call each other's names. In order to avoid being discovered by the enemy, it is best to use a code. Is it necessary? Akihara Kagura looked at Hatake Kakashi's white hair and couldn't help but say, there are not many people in the whole ninja world who can use wood release, and there are not many people who have white hair like Captain Kakashi. Do we still need a code? I haven't seen the third Hokage call you by your code today. Hatake Kakashi was silent. It seems that there is really no need for this. Tenzo stood beside them and talked to them carefully. Let's go inspect the village first. Hatake Kakashi didn't intend to argue with Akihara Kagura, and brought up business. You two should pay more attention and see if you can find any traces left by that wood release ninja. After all, the other hidden wood release ninja is likely to be a subordinate of the third Hokage. Hatake Kakashi didn't dare to let too many people know, so he could only tell Tenzo and Akihara Kagura. Okay. Akihara Kagura felt immediately refreshed. By helping the future new boss, the mysterious masked man, to create new troubles and forcing the boss to come and recruit her to solve the troubles, Akihara Kagura was really excited about this matter. First update. Please collect it. Chapter 48 Mysterious Masked Man. This kid wants to frame me? At night, Konoha village is very quiet. Because the Anbu ninjas are guarding this peaceful village. Konoha is the most prosperous and largest ninja village in the ninja world. Other villages will inevitably be hostile to Konoha. Even in peacetime, they will not miss the opportunity to spy on Konoha. A group of Anbu ninjas wearing gray protective gear kept jumping up and down outside Konoha, patrolling around to see if there were any loopholes in Konoha's guards. Akihara Kagura also became one of them. However, this Anbu boy did not patrol as seriously as the others, but rather casually checked an area and then stopped to rest. This kid, is he still lazy when performing a mission? The pitcher plant monster has been hiding underground to monitor Akihara Kagura. The black half-face couldn't help but feel a little less optimistic about this lazy Akihara Kagura. The white half of the pitcher plant monster's face whispered in defense, children are children. Maybe they still like to play. It seems that he is talking to himself. Go and eavesdrop. The pitcher plant monster slowly lurked near Akihara Kagura, and this distance was just enough to eavesdrop on Akihara Kagura's mumbling. Who is framing me? If that person doesn't continue to use wood release to kill people, will we never find out who framed me? We must find a way to use wood release to kill some people and frame the person who framed me. At least I can clear my suspicion. We must make a bigger noise. It would be best if the whole Konoha was in a panic. Just like the Nine Tails rebellion that shocked the whole Konoha. This kid is crazy. The pitcher plant monster was a little frightened. How could such a weird person appear in the ninja world? When someone used wood release to frame him, he didn't think about keeping a low profile, but thought about helping the murderer to kill people, and even wanted to make this frame-up case bigger. The pitcher plant monster thought that the kid's personality was too weird, and secretly reported it to the mysterious masked man to avoid the situation getting out of control. Frame the murderer. The mysterious masked man couldn't help but sneer at this matter when he heard this information. That kid doesn't even know who I am. How could he frame me? I want to see how that kid frames me. Yes. Akihara Kagura doesn't know his identity. The whole ninja world should not know about him, and even except for a few people, no one knows that there is a mysterious masked man in the ninja world. However, sometimes, framing a person does not require identity information. Logically speaking, Akihara Kagura does not know the information of the mysterious masked man, but he knows who has seen the mysterious masked man with their own eyes. The most ferocious tailed beast in the world. Nine-tailed beast. The last nine-tailed riot in Konoha village was caused by the mysterious masked man. The nine-tailed beast will hate everyone who has controlled it. The mysterious masked man attaches great importance to the nine-tailed beast. Once there is really a problem with the nine-tailed beast, he will definitely rush there. If the mysterious masked man refuses to show up, Akihara Kagura has another plan. She only needs to change into the appearance of the mysterious masked man, which will most likely cause the Nine Tails chakra to riot, and many people will know the existence of the mysterious masked man, and they will be unable to resist exploring the truth about the mysterious masked man. Now it's time to find Uzumaki Naruto. Is it easy to meet Uzumaki Naruto? Very easy. You may meet him anytime and anywhere. Uzumaki Naruto has no parents since he was a child. They didn't teach him how to live, and the support money Konoha gave him was often not enough for his life. This little guy would go fishing by the Konoha River or picking mushrooms in the back mountain in the middle of the night because he was too hungry. Tonight, it happened that this little guy was hungry again. Uzumaki Naruto was happily picking wild mushrooms, and he didn't know that Akihara Kagura was standing on a big tree, secretly spying on his whereabouts. The mantis stalks the cicada, and the oriole is behind. The pitcher plant monster that has been hiding in this big tree is also spying on Akihara Kagura, and it also noticed the little guy Uzumaki Naruto. Akihara Kagura's hands were filled with wooden spikes. She seemed to be unaware that someone was eavesdropping on her. She was nonchalantly planning her own plan. The Nine Tails should be very important, right? Is there anything more alarming to Konoha than the murderer behind the scenes killing the Nine Tails? What is this kid talking about? The two brains of the pitcher plant monster were about to explode. Why did this kid say such horrifying words? How could he say so lightly about killing the Nine Tails Jinchuriki? Is this kid really a Konoha ninja? The most troublesome thing is that the Nine Tails is in Uzumaki Naruto's body. The lives of the tailed beasts and the Jinchuriki are shared. Uzumaki Naruto is a very weak Jinchuriki. As long as this kid Akihara Kagura kills Uzumaki Naruto, he can really kill the Nine Tails. This will cause chaos in Konoha. No. It may even cause unrest in the entire ninja world. This kid is too extreme. We must stop all this from happening first, right? The two brains of the pitcher plant monster immediately reached a consensus. It could only notify the mysterious masked man to come over immediately, because it had no ability to fight. The mysterious masked man hurried over using the space-time ninjutsu. This dark man who had been hiding behind the ninja world, who thought he could manipulate everyone in the ninja world, felt for the first time that things were beyond his control. Although he didn't know what impact Akihara Kagura's killing of the Nine Tails Jinchuriki had on him, this matter was obviously beyond his control. Especially since that guy wanted him to take the blame. What's more, the child Uzumaki Naruto. During the last Nine Tails rebellion, the mysterious masked man made up his mind to change his life by killing his teacher, turning himself from a ninja who aspired to become a Hokage into a mastermind who attempted to subvert the ninja world. Maybe there's still a little bit of conscience. Maybe Uzumaki Naruto, the Nine Tails Jinchuriki, can still restrict the Nine Tails, so there is no need to let this child Uzumaki Naruto die so early. The back mountain of Konoha. It seemed that Akihara Kagura happened to patrol here and saw Uzumaki Naruto, so she greeted him. Hey, Uzumaki Naruto, why are you here? Kagura. Uzumaki Naruto waved to Akihara Kagura with excitement, and raised the colorful mushrooms in his hand. I just picked mushrooms. Do you want to drink soup with me? Green mushrooms, red mushrooms, these should all be poisonous mushrooms, right? Akihara Kagura frowned, and her eyes were about to change. I will accompany you to finish eating these, and maybe we will meet your parents, huh? Really? Uzumaki Naruto was actually a little happy. The little guy didn't quite understand what Akihara Kagura meant, and rushed towards Akihara Kagura with the mushrooms in his hand, and was even a little happy to meet someone who didn't hate him. Don't get close to him. A voice suddenly appeared here. A time-space vortex slowly appeared between Akihara Kagura and Uzumaki Naruto, and the figure of the mysterious masked man quickly flashed out of the time-space vortex. When the mysterious masked man arrived, he had no time to think of other ways. He could only appear in front of the two people in a hurry. Anyway, even if any flaws were revealed, he could use the Sharingan to hypnotize and erase their memories. Crash! Blood splattered. A wooden thorn pierced into the flesh. The moment the mysterious masked man hurriedly used the space-time technique to appear, a wooden thorn had suddenly pierced his body, as if it was waiting for the moment he appeared, leaving him no time to dodge. Good evening, Invader. A hint of amusement flashed in Akihara Kagura's eyes. It's a bit unexpected that a mastermind behind the ninja world would be so easily fooled. Second update. Most of the Hara family members are good at jobs like masterminds. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, It means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelis. There you'll find the original version of this story, and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 49: The Mastermind Behind the Nine-Tail Rebellion. This wooden thorn attacked at the perfect time. Because this was originally a trap set by Akihara Kagura, the wooden thorn thrown by Akihara Kagura was aimed at the moment when the mysterious masked man released his body through the space-time ninjutsu and could not resist. The mysterious masked man looked down at the wooden thorn that pierced his body, and said in a dull voice, "I thought I would never be injured in this fake world again." How long has it been since he was injured? The last time he was injured should be during the Nine-Tails Rebellion, right? The last time he was injured, he wanted to kill Uzumaki Naruto's father behind him. This time he was injured to protect the little guy Uzumaki Naruto. This world is so fake that it makes people feel ironic. The mysterious masked man took it for granted that he was protecting Uzumaki Naruto, protecting the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki from being killed, and protecting the Moon Plan from accidents. Wood release, cutting technique. Akihara Kagura raised his finger. The wooden thorn in the mysterious masked man's body grew instantly. A strange scene suddenly happened. The growing wooden thorn did not hurt the mysterious masked man's body, and even suddenly fell from his body to the ground. The mysterious masked man's body just seemed to be transparent and virtual. This is the mysterious masked man's time and space pupil technique, which can put his body in a divine space to prevent himself from being hurt in the real world. Strange technique in Sharingan. Akihara Kagura looked at the Mangekyou Sharingan revealed by the mysterious masked man, and his expression gradually began to become cold. "Uchiha clan, please tell me your identity. Why do you appear here in the middle of the night? No need to know who I am." The mysterious masked man stared at Akihara Kagura and said coldly, "I came here just to prevent the yellow-haired boy behind me from being killed." How dare this kid ask such a question? "I am here because of you, a crazy kid." In order to frame the murderer, he actually wanted to kill Konoha's Nine-Tails Jinchuriki. A Konoha Enbu ninja was even more extreme than himself, the enemy of Konoha. How do you know someone wants to kill Uzumaki Naruto? Akihara Kagura narrowed his eyes slightly, staring at the mysterious masked man, as if to see this secret hidden in him. "I, the Enbu, don't know about this, oh? Don't you know?" The mysterious masked man questioned in a somewhat cold voice. "If it weren't for you, a little kid, who suddenly wanted to kill the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki, how could he have exposed his identity and rushed over? What on earth is that bastard Hatake Kakashi doing to put such a dangerous kid in the Anbu? Now I know. I am the Anbu of Konoha, I will protect him. You are the enemy who wants to hurt Naruto." Akihara Kagura sneered, and suddenly shouted, "Uzumaki Naruto, come to me quickly, this guy may be an enemy." Huh? Uzumaki Naruto was a little confused. There is no doubt that in Uzumaki Naruto's cognition, Akihara Kagura must be one of his own. And the little yellow-haired boy ran quickly in the direction of Akihara Kagura. "Don't go over there." The mysterious masked man raised his hand and threw a black stick to stop Uzumaki Naruto's action. "Uzumaki Naruto, don't get close to that guy, he wants to kill you." An intruder slandered Konoha's Anbu. Has this world become too absurd? Akihara Kagura quickly controlled a vine to drill out of the ground, and the vine quickly grabbed Uzumaki Naruto, as if wanting to protect Uzumaki Naruto. It is absurd that this false world has always existed. The mysterious masked man instantly appeared next to Uzumaki Naruto, kicked Uzumaki Naruto away from the edge of the vine, and the little yellow-haired body fell backwards and flew out. The mysterious masked man didn't believe Akihara Kagura. In an instant, Uzumaki Naruto saw the front of the mysterious masked man. A touch of red appeared in Uzumaki Naruto's eyes, and a violent scarlet chakra instantly swept over his body, covering him with a layer of chakra coat. Uzumaki Naruto looked at the mysterious masked man with a ferocious face, and the whole person seemed to have lost his mind and rushed towards the mysterious masked man. "Nine-tailed. Are you still not going to learn your lesson?" The mysterious masked man glanced at the irrational Uzumaki Naruto, and quickly raised his palm. A black stick stretched out from his sleeve in an instant and pierced directly into the shoulder of the little guy, nailing the little guy directly to the ground. The mysterious masked man has plenty of means to deal with the nine-tailed, not to mention that he is just controlling a young Jinchuriki with a little nine-tailed chakra. Now it should be my turn to find it interesting, right? Akihara Kagura tilted her head, and seemed to be very curious about the scene in front of her. Why does Uzumaki Naruto have this reaction after seeing you? No, it should be said that why does the nine-tailed and Uzumaki Naruto have this reaction after seeing you? The mysterious masked man clenched his fists suddenly. Since the nine-tailed rebellion 6 years ago, the nine-tailed and Uzumaki Naruto has not had any problems, but this time when he saw his mask, it suddenly became violent. Now everyone knows that there is a problem. He was just trying to protect the nine-tails from being killed, but he didn't expect that the nine-tails rampage would expose some of his past secrets. Let me guess. Akihiro Kagura stroked his chin and began to reverse the process based on the known results. The nine-tails can't be rampaging for no reason. The last time it was rampaging, you were also involved in the nine-tails rebellion, right, invader? You are really smart. The mysterious masked man praised him against his will. Your Sharingan is not bad either. Akihiro Kagura praised him in return, and continued slowly. The Uchiha clan's main Gekyo Sharingan can control the tailed beasts. If I'm not mistaken, it should be you who controlled the nine tails 6 years ago. Not bad. The mysterious masked man nodded slowly. Do you hate Konoha? Akihiro Kagura's questioning speed suddenly increased. Not bad. The mysterious masked man did not deny it. You don't like this world either. Akihiro Kagura seemed to be asking a meaningless question. Not bad. The mysterious masked man felt that this question was very meaningful. If Akihiro Kagura continued to talk like this, the mysterious masked man would not mind letting the little guy know his thoughts, and even wanted to lure the little guy to agree that the fake world needs to change. However, Akihiro Kagura's questions gradually became weird. If we hate this world, there must be a reason. It seems that your family should have died. Yes. The mysterious masked man did not have time to instill in Akihiro Kagura in detail that this world is a mistake. Suddenly, he was reminded of his grandmother who he had not thought about for a long time. Did you kill Aburame Ryoma? Akihiro Kagura asked a question out of the blue. Yes. The mysterious masked man suddenly told the truth. Little devil, the mysterious masked man's eyes suddenly narrowed, feeling as if he had been fooled. You deliberately distracted me, just to know this. Rather, I can only ask this. Akihiro Kagura hugged her arms and tapped her right arm lightly with her left fingers. As the person who once caused the Nine Tails Rebellion, you have too many secrets. Killing Aburame Ryoma seems a little insignificant, so I can ask it out, but it doesn't matter after tonight. These will no longer be secrets. The chakra in Akihiro Kagura's body quickly rioted, and vines drilled out from the ground. Now I just need to entangle you, and the rest is to wait for the reinforcements of the Anbu. First update. It's best to reverse the process based on the results. Chapter 50. The mask falls off, revealing the true face. All the vine attacks fell into the air. One by one, the vines passed through the mysterious masked man's body, just like passing through the air, and could not hurt him at all. Akihiro Kagura's wood release ninjutsu had no effect on the mysterious masked man. The mysterious masked man's main Gekyo Sharingan has the ability to penetrate and transform into a virtual object, allowing him to dodge any attack, and he is almost invincible in battle. Do you want to hold on and wait for help with this method? The mysterious masked man ignored the vines that penetrated his body and rushed towards Akihiro Kagura. Kid, Konoha's people are always late. Before they arrive, catch you, kid, so that the Nine Tails Jinchuriki will not be in danger again. You are the biggest danger, right? Akihiro Kagura raised his finger to his chest, and a vine emerged from under his feet, driving his body to retreat quickly. Even if Akihiro Kagura knew the weakness of the mysterious masked man, it would not be so easy to crack his ability, because the other party would not stand still and be attacked, and could rush over and catch him with his ability to transform into a virtual object. The mysterious masked man flew into the air and grabbed the retreating vine with one hand. His right eye quickly spun, and a space-time vortex appeared instantly. The vine was dragged into the space at a high speed. Akihiro Kagura's body was also dragged involuntarily towards the mysterious masked man. Once caught by him, she would be at the mercy of others. However, this is also an opportunity. When the mysterious masked man uses his space-time pupil technique to absorb objects, his body will stop being virtual and enter a physical state. Akihiro Kagura quickly condensed a wooden thorn and threw it towards the mysterious masked man, but it could only force the mysterious masked man to give up absorbing the vines and re-enter the virtual state. What a trouble. Akihiro Kagura frowned. Without the space-time technique, it would be really troublesome to fight against a mysterious masked man. He could only try to set some traps. After all, the most important thing about the opponent's eye technique is space. As long as he hides a clone in the opponent's space, with a gap in strength, he can only experience the cruelty of reality. The mysterious masked man rushed towards Akihara Kagura again and said in a cold voice, "No matter how you resist, it will be a useless struggle in the end. It doesn't matter." Akihara Kagura took a deep breath, as if she had regained her will to fight, but she said some discouraging words. "It's enough for me to delay until the reinforcements arrive." Akihara Kagura seemed to be trying hard to cheer up. "As long as Captain Kakashi arrives soon, everything will be better." "Huh? Kakashi is just a waste." The mysterious masked man was disdainful, as if the name aroused his anger. In this desperate reality, Kakashi, that waste, can't change anything. Akihara Kagura ignored him, just raised her fingers and made a hand seal. Vines quickly grew out of the ground, spiraling to form a huge sphere. Akihara Kagura hid her body in the center of the vines. Wood style, wood clone. With the help of the vines, Akihara Kagura quickly separated a wooden clone. Compared with other clone techniques, the wooden clone and the shadow clone technique are almost the same and can also be used to attack. "Kid, do you think you can escape by hiding in it?" The mysterious masked man stretched out his palm and landed on the huge vine ball. The Mangekyou Sharingan spun rapidly, and the time-space pupil technique started to operate rapidly. Ordinary ninjas might still have no way to deal with Akihara Kagura's defense, but for the mysterious masked man, Akihara Kagura's behavior was no different from an ostrich hiding in the sand. It was just deceiving himself. If he entered the vine to search, it might be a waste of time. The mysterious masked man simply absorbed the entire vine ball and Akihara Kagura inside it into the space. The huge vine ball was completely absorbed by the mysterious masked man. The plan is complete. The mysterious masked man glanced at the battlefield nonchalantly, looked at Uzumaki Naruto who was still nailed to the ground, and then looked at Akihara Kagura who was standing next to Uzumaki Naruto. Akihara Kagura? Wasn't this kid taken into the space along with the vine ball? The mysterious masked man suddenly widened his eyes, somewhat doubting what he had just done. When did this kid escape to Uzumaki Naruto? "I told you." Akihara Kagura chuckled and looked at a leaping figure in the distance. "I just need to delay time until the reinforcements arrive." A masked white-haired ninja figure was leaping in the distance, and other Anbu ninjas were also moving quickly towards this side. Reinforcements were about to arrive. "Humph, what can a waste do?" The mysterious masked man said harsh words, but the Mangekyou Sharingan in his eye sockets was spinning rapidly, trying to take himself into the space and slip away. Since Hatake Kakashi is here, Akihara Kagura should not dare to hurt the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki, so let Akihara Kagura, this brat, go for once. It only takes 3 seconds for the mysterious masked man to use the space-time pupil technique to escape. Bang! A vine on the ground stopped his action. "When I saw you just now, it took 3 seconds for you to use the space-time pupil technique to appear before I stabbed your body with a cutting technique. I guess you want to use the space-time pupil technique to absorb yourself and escape, which will take at least 3 seconds, right?" Akihara Kagura put his fingers on his chest, with a devilish smile in his eyes. "My would release only requires one hand seal, and the technique only takes 1 second at most to activate." The mysterious masked man realized the problem for the first time. This brat is not as bloodthirsty and reckless as he imagined. He actually pays attention to such small details, and he has even found one of his weaknesses. "Don't leave in a hurry." Akihara Kagura looked at the mysterious masked man, and smiled and persuaded him. "Didn't you say that Captain Kakashi was a waste? When I was under the command of Danzo-sama, I always wanted to kill him. Can you help me kill him?" After Akihara Kagura finished speaking, without waiting for the mysterious masked man to answer, he shouted to Hatake Kakashi who was running over, "Captain Kakashi, there is an intruder who sneaked into the village and tried to kill Naruto. Come and help." "This brat," the mysterious masked man cursed in a low voice. It was obviously this brat who wanted to kill Uzumaki Naruto, and he appeared here to avoid the death of the Nine-Tails. However, Hatake Kakashi would not pay attention to these. Hearing that someone was trying to kill Uzumaki Naruto, Hatake Kakashi's mood suddenly became nervous, and he saw the mysterious masked man at a glance. "Who is it?" Hatake Kakashi rushed towards the mysterious masked man quickly, and grabbed the mask on the mysterious masked man's face with one hand, wanting to see who the other person was. The body of the mysterious masked man instantly became ethereal. Hatake Kakashi's palm landed in the air. However, the most bizarre scene happened. The mysterious masked man who had obviously dodged the attack couldn't help but widen his eyes, as if he had seen something horrible. In a strange space. Every time the mysterious masked man's body becomes empty, part of his body or his entire body will appear in this space, and all the objects he absorbed with his pupil technique, including the enemy, will also be placed in this space. For example, a sphere wrapped in vines. For example, a wooden clone hiding in the sphere. When the mysterious masked man became empty due to Kakashi's attack, his head appeared in the Kamui space. Akihara Kagura's wooden clone stood in front of the mysterious masked man's head, ignored the pair of terrified eyes on this head, and pulled off his mask with force. Real world. The mysterious masked man's mask suddenly disappeared. It was as if someone had suddenly pulled it off with force. Hatake Kakashi was a little surprised that his palm fell into the air, but found that the other party's mask suddenly fell off, and he had seen the true face of the mysterious masked man. Your second update. It's gone. There are still some of my books that haven't blown up the Shinwei space. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.